Good morning. Welcome to the Texas State Archery Association State Championships. Today we are in two ranges. So we have the compounds and bare bows in one range, and then recurve are in the other range today. So we're going to get to look at all the live scoring on Eyes on Scores. So make sure you jump on there and see what's going on. I'm Ellie Purcell, and this is Emmy.
Hello.
We're going to be doing the live broadcast for a little bit today, so I hope you jump on and find out what's going on. So let's see. We are in practice rounds right now, I believe. Everyone's just kind of getting started this morning, a little early.
This is actually the third line
Yes.
for the state tournament because we had one line on Thursday and one line last night.
Yes.
And then there will be one more at noon today.
And then we'll go into the youth shoot-offs this afternoon or evening. And then the adult shoot-offs will be all day tomorrow. So you'll definitely want to jump on there. This is the recurve range, it's the 20-yard range. There are actually three ranges at Texas Archery. We have the 20-yard range, which is this one. And then we also have the 3D range, which you just saw. And then they also have a 50-meter range to practice outdoor while you're indoor because, you know, it's hot in Texas. So that's really nice. Get to see some of that. Looks like they're all pulling their arrows now.
If you want to follow score today, you can go to eyesonscore.com and just click on live scoring for the TSAA state championships. And then they will pop up all of the divisions. You can scroll down and favorite your archer so that you can keep on checking back on them.
Yeah, it's really nice. You can also search your archer if you're not sure what division they're in. You can look up by age or class or name. So right now they are pulling arrows. They're also marking their arrows, and that's done so that if you have a bounce out, you make sure you get the correct points. Because if you have a hole in the 10 ring and you have a hole in the 6, and neither of them have an arrow in them and neither of them have a line next to them, you're not sure which one you just shot. You can't prove it. So you want to make sure you mark all your holes so that you get the correct points, because we all want higher points and not lower points because this is archery, not golf. So
And you'll see today some archers will be covering up the holes in the target. That's especially common in
yes,
3 spots. And that's just so that when you're aiming, a lot of times your eyes will be drawn to that dark hole in the target. So if you have a dark hole outside of the 10 ring, it can be pretty hard to then re-sight into the 10. So a lot of archers will cover those holes up so they just
yes.
see the solid yellow when they're sighting.
Unless of course you have a nice perfect 10, then you want to keep that one open so you get that nice big black hole to aim in. So. And the 3 spots in the single spot are optional as to which one you shoot. So most bare bow will shoot the single spot because bare bows are not as accurate. And then I guess it kind of depends. Some of the compounds will shoot 3 spot. And the reason they do that is because you don't want to have broken arrows. So Robin Hoods are fun to look at. They're really cool, but once you start buying your own arrows, they kind of get a little pricey. So it's nice to have that 3 spot. It's kind of nice to aim because then you don't have to worry about like, oh, look, there's another arrow and I got distracted. So a lot of these people are shooting that. So we got lots of different brands out there today. I see Prime, Matthews.
There's a couple Hoyts out there too.
Yeah. Got Scott down in the interview booth. We got lots of compounders today. And I believe the ages are anywhere from 8 up, however high up. You don't have to ever stop shooting archery.
Yeah, I know
really
today we
nice.
have a couple in the 70 plus
Yes, we
division,
do.
so that's always fun to see.
And everyone will have their own division for bows. So all the compounds will just shoot against compounds, bare bows just shoot against bare bows, and recurves just shoot against recurves. And then within those, you'll have your age divisions. So you'll have U13, which is 8 to 13, and then you have U15, which is 13 to 15. U18, U21, and then senior is anyone 18 and above. Well,
And you went
18 to
21 and
49.
above.
Yeah, 20, duh, 21 and above. And then if you're over 50, 60, or 70, you have your own divisions also. Back over to the recurve side. I believe they have started their scoring rounds. Let's see. We'll have to check on that in a little bit. So the recurve are the bows with the long stabilizers. You have 2 side bars called V-bars. You also get a sight, but unlike compound, you do not get a peep. A peep is something that you look through on your string. Got lots of different archers out there today.
Hey guys, this is Scott with Texas Archery. I want to introduce you guys to Emmy and Ellie, who are in the top, that corner, right? Let me see if I can do it.
Yep.
There, right there.
Right there.
So they're going to be doing our broadcast today. I think this is great. We're called Raising an Archer. Let's raise our archers up and have them do some of this fun stuff. We've got an we have a interview booth right here. So as these guys finish up over here, we're going to go ahead and start bringing some people in to do interviews at the end of this shoot so that we can get some time with them, see how they shot, see what type of bows they shoot, things like that, all right? Should be very exciting. I'm excited to have Ellie and Emmy on here, but I do want to welcome you guys to TSAA State Championship. The rules, I don't know if they explained the rules to you. Everybody is shooting one time. Whoever is leading at the end is your state champion. First, second, and third get medals. Once this thing is done, we'll take those scores for, let's say, for example, the youth, U18 and below. They'll take, for recurve specifically, recurve, all of the male and female will be grouped together. They'll take the top scores. Top 16 move on to the shoot-off tonight at 4:30. Same for compound, same for bare bow. The adults have the same type of format. U21 and above will be your the group that will be your group that you'll be shooting against. Top 16, male, female. They'll be starting tomorrow at 8 a.m. But tonight is going to be a late night.
Yes.
Because right when it ends, the 12 o'clock line ends, we're going to get awards out. We're going to give those awards out to everybody. Then we're going to go ahead and get everything ready, get the top 16 ready to go to shoot off for the money. Top 6 from each division get paid. So it's going to be really exciting. Be a lot of fun to watch tonight. So stay tuned, but we'll continue to give you that information. If you're watching and wondering, okay, am I going to be in the top 16? After this shoot, we're going to try to get some information out to kind of show you where you fall right now with the archers still to shoot. So some of the divisions, some of the archers are going to be, by the time the scores are in, there's no one that can knock them out of the top 16. So we'll go ahead and start marking those just so that everybody knows.
That's helpful.
So, all right. Well, thank you guys, and enjoy Ellie and Emmy.
Thank you.
All right, so we are now back to our recurve range. So you've got people standing a couple different ways. So the only difference in that is the right-handed archers will stand with their left arm out holding their bow, and the right-handed archers will stand with their right arm holding their bow. So it's not necessarily if you're right-handed or left-handed, it's also what eye dominance you are. So you can actually be, like I'm right-handed, but I'm left eye dominant, so I shoot left, but Emmy is right-handed and right eye dominant. So kind of get to go by your eye and also your strength, depending on if your right hand is automatically stronger or left hand is stronger, stuff like that. So archery is very, very customizable. It's really nice. You get to choose between several different bows and your setup, how you like your shot to feel. It's really neat. We've got some more kiddos pulling.
And you'll see some people changing out their targets already.
Yep, Julia's changing
that
out
means
hers.
that they're probably heading into
Yeah,
the
let's
scoring
see.
rounds pretty soon, or the scoring ends pretty soon. So some people will not want to see, like we were talking about, covering those holes. Some people will just want to start with a fresh face going into scoring. And that way, if you've had any practice ends that maybe you're not thrilled with, or you just know that you're a very consistent shot, and when you get a lot of holes in those targets, it can be really hard to make line calls, which is where you have an arrow that's really touching the line of the higher ring. But sometimes when there's a lot of black holes in there, it can be really hard to see. So changing out those targets frequently will help
Yeah.
the judges
You
with
want to always
calling
make
those.
sure that you have the optimal points. You want to, because if your arrow, it doesn't have to break the line on the target. So you have 1 all the way up to 10 on the single spots, and then you have 6 to 10 on the 3 spots. And if you touch a line with your arrow, then you get to move up to the higher point. So that is always a good thing. So you want to make sure you can see exactly where the line is so that you make sure you grab that extra point. It gets pretty close in a lot of these competitions.
Right.
So I'm going to guess this is the first
I think
scoring
this is
end.
the first scoring
so.
end.
Yep. There they go. So we've got lots of different color bows. That's all personal preference. You get to choose the color of your bow, what bow. You got different brands. You've got PSE, Hoyt, Matthews, Darton, Elite. There's probably more that I'm not thinking about. Julia with her beautiful pink bow. We were talking about that last night. She loves her Stratus in the beautiful champagne pink. And she shoots left-handed, so that's why she's facing the different way. A lot of kids will wear, or I guess a lot of people will wear jerseys, so you can wear, like Julie's wearing her Hoyt jersey because she shoots a Hoyt. A lot of kids wear their club jerseys, so like if they go to a JOAD, Ellie Van Meter has her South Texas JOAD jersey on over there in the blue. She's shooting barebow.
So the barebow is like a recurve bow without the sights and stabilization. So she just has a bare bow. You are allowed to have a certain amount of weight on
Yes,
your
as
bow.
long as it does not reach 4 inches outside of your bow. So you can have, as far as I know, you can have as much weight as long as it stays within those 4 inches. And they'll check that at a tournament for you and let you know, like, hey, you got to take some weight off if it sticks out too far. And then for compound, you can have a long stabilizer if you're shooting, like NFA calls it freestyle. I think USA Archery just calls it compound. Yeah.
Yes.
And then if you shoot fixed pin or freestyle in NFA, you're limited on how long your stabilizers can be. But
Yes, but you are still allowed.
yes, you are.
We got a lot of cool camera angles at Texas
Yeah,
Archery.
this is really nice. You can see
So-
how everyone's all nice and stretched out.
It's really cool to see alignment on some of these
Yeah.
archers. Because you'll see, especially on compounds, some will shoot up where their elbow and their grip are almost in a perfect alignment with each other, and others will shoot a more triangular alignment.
Yes.
And it's really interesting to see like the different form on these different archers. How you can have two archers who are both really, really good,
Oh, yeah.
and next to each other, their form looks drastically different.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of working with your body and finding out what
What works best for
what
you?
works best for you.
Yeah. The bare bows always look like super confident. Like, I feel like they're just chilling with their bows. You have that blue tape is to say where they're supposed to stand. So that's 18 meters for today. Sometimes different tournaments, they'll be at different lengths. So
But
I
most
believe
USA
everyone-
archery tournaments will
Yes.
be 18 meters, unless there's some youth that will shoot.
Yeah, I think USA
at
Archery does like
9.
8 and 9-year-olds at 9 meters sometimes, but
Today, I don't think we have any of those
I don't
age
think
kiddos
so.
shooting.
yeah, so the blue line tells you where to stand, and then how you stand is kind of up to you. Some people like their feet really close together, like you'll see in a minute, and some people like to see it nice and far apart. Just kind of whatever helps you feel the most stable. So
Yeah, a
now
lot of that
they're-
also depends on how wide
your shoulders
your
are.
shoulders
Yes.
are, and just how your body best balances.
So they're gonna go score. This should be their first
Their
scoring
first scoring in.
in.
So they'll have one archer with a paper score pad, writing down and doing all the old-fashioned math.
Yes.
And then they'll have one scorer with a tablet to upload those scores instantly onto Eyes on Score so that
Yes.
everybody else can follow along. It also helps at the end with
ranking.
ranking
Yes,
so that
'cause
you
it'll
don't have to
automatically
go
do that.
back.
Yeah.
It'll automatically upload those scores and rank them with everyone who shot on Friday and on Thursday.
And Eyes on Score is an app that Scott actually developed so that you can do registration and scoring all at the same time. It's very helpful.
Especially for either really big tournaments like this one where you have multiple days, or for small tournaments where you don't necessarily have
Right, because anyone can
the
use it.
budget
can-
for a great big scoring program.
Right.
And it works
It
beautifully.
speeds up the time a lot too. You don't have to double check all the math and everything as much. Still check it, but
So we have the recurve range still shooting, and the compound and barebow range is currently scoring.
I love the way that the recurves just fall out of their hand. That's actually a technique that they do because you want your bow to be able to jump out of your hand so that you have less grip torque. So you want that bow to jump out of your hand, away from your hand, so that you're not putting a spin on it
And then they dive down because of the amount of weight
on the front.
on that front long bar.
Yes. So these guys in this range, they have a red mat that they stand on, so they don't have like a specific line. So it's kind of nice because you get to spread out however far you want to. you
So
know?
this is recurve's second scoring end. So they've already scored one,
Okay.
and they're finishing up their second scoring end. And you'll see the recurvers will also sometimes use a 3-spot
Yes.
target because they do have those sights that really help. And as the bow is more balanced, it's a little more forgiving than a regular bare bow.
Yes,
So-
definitely. It's a lot. It's a lot to coordinate, but it works out pretty good. And you have some seating back there too, so like family can sit and watch. We have seating in the other area as well, so you don't have to just be standing all the time. You can sit down and enjoy the show. It looks like all recurve today. Last night I think there was one compound in with the recurves.
And with the recurvers,
It was kind of funny. Oh wait, no, we have a traditional over on the far left. I'm not sure if it's there left. I think it looks like it anyway. Yeah. So he has
Yes.
a traditional. So a traditional is even less than a bare bow. So it's all one piece. You cannot take it down. A lot of the recurves and bare bows, you can see that the limbs, which is the long parts coming out from the top and the bottom, they will actually separate so they can go into a case. But the traditional bows or long bows, they are actually one piece and you cannot take them apart. So they have their own division as well.
So the recurve is like right now the recurve is about an end ahead of the compound range, and some of that is just because typically the recurver's shot process is shorter than the compounders.
Well, yeah, because compound, you draw back, you get to your back wall where you cannot draw it anymore, and you get let off. So you can set that, depending on what bow you have, anywhere from 60 to 80%. Sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little
Yeah.
bit more, depending on the brand
So
of the
like
bow.
on my bow, I pull back 43 pounds, but then I have a 65% let off.
Right.
So I'm not actually holding that much weight. Whereas on a recurve bow, you are holding your draw weight the whole
Right.
time.
So like compound, it's heavy, 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 light, and then recurve, it's light, 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 heavy. So they don't hold as long because they're holding
Their
however much
entire
weight.
bow weight.
Yeah, 20, 30, sometimes 40 pounds, more than that for a few people. So yeah, usually they don't hold quite as long. And there's less people, so that also goes faster just with scoring and everything. So it looks like they are about to start their
The second
second end.
scoring
Yeah.
end. So we'll shoot. They'll get 2 practice ends. So an end is 3 arrows. In practice, you are allowed to shoot more than that as long as you still have time on
Yes.
the clock. But you will shoot 2 practice ends, and then you will shoot 10 ends of score.
Yes.
And then they'll get a short break.
Yeah, 10 to 15 minutes.
10 to 15 minutes typically. And then they will shoot 10 more scoring ends. So it'll be a total of 20 scoring ends
It'll be 60 arrows total.
plus practice arrows.
Yes. So yeah, 66.
Got several young kids on the line
Yes,
today.
we do.
Texas Archery has a big youth program. They have
Yes.
almost 40 kids.
Yeah, they have youth and adult programs weekly, so that's really nice because they can you can make friends, you can hang out, you can shoot together, help each other get better. They have great coaches too, so you're not just on your own. It's really nice, and they have all their bow tech area. So like if you have a problem with your bow, they can fix that. They're really good at that too.
They
So
have some great techs. Yes.
So here's some of the different stances we're talking about. Some are really wide, some are really close together, feet are at different angles. Most of that is just how your body responds to the balance.
Yes. Most commonly, you'll see an open stance like that one right there,
In the green shirt.
where the front
Yes.
foot is slightly behind the back foot and tilted slightly towards the target. That's probably the most common stance that
Yeah.
you'll see.
Especially in recurve. Like a lot of people shoot open in recurve and bare bow. And then compound kind of depends. Some people shoot an even stance where you just both feet are generally get the same or like slightly one is in front or behind. Most of the time you don't see a closed stance, but
So
I
that's
shoot a
our
closed stance.
bare bow group
Yeah, so
that you're
they're all
seeing
on
right
one
now.
side. Yes, you have Rick Stonebreaker. He is the tall gentleman in the red, white, and blue shirt. He's been shooting for a long time. He's very good. He's actually a judge, too. He judged last night. And judges they're the ones calling any arrow questions. So, like, if you walk down and you're like, I don't know, is it a 10, is it a 9? They're going to come over and they're going to have a flashlight and a magnifying glass. And they're going to look at it from a few different angles. And then they're going to tell you, hey, this broke the line, so it's a 10. Or, nope, sorry, it's a 9. So,
They'll also check your equipment at the
Yes.
beginning to just kind of see, make sure you're all legal and
That's also helpful for pins because USA Archery has ranking pins. So ranking pins are kind of a way to compete with yourself. It's to show your growth. So they have 1 through 8 stars, and that depends on your half. So 30 arrows with a possible of 300 points. And then once you get all the way up to 8, then they have Olympian pins. So they have bronze, silver, and gold Olympian pins. And they have those in each bow category. So age doesn't matter with those unless they do have a adult and youth, and those scores are slightly different. But you'll also notice a lot of archers leaning in, like you can see Julia's lean slightly there. That's also to help with balance because a lot of people feel like they're more stable leaning forward, but not always. You'll see a lot of guys, especially, they kind of lean back a little bit on their heels sometimes. That's also personal preference. Recurves almost always lean forward just because of the way that the bow works with their body.
Recurvers, because of the size of their bow, they also have the string clearance
Yes,
issue
they do.
on across their chest and arms.
We might be able to see that. I think they're shooting right now. We'll have to see. Yeah, there you go. So you can see some of them lean forward.
And then you'll also see some of them have chest guards, which are those straps
That go
that
across the
cover
front
half
side.
their
Yes.
chest, and that's just to keep their clothing and skin tight up against them and away from the bowstring,
Yeah,
so that
because
they don't
you
get
want-
slapped on release.
Yes, you want to eliminate anything that you can that, is going to be different from time to time. They also, a lot of archers, compound, bare bow, recurve, wear arm guards. You can kind of see on their forearms, there's a little, piece of equipment. I don't know what you would call it. Sometimes it's plastic, sometimes it's leather, sometimes it's cloth. And that is so that when you draw back, sometimes if your grip is a little bit off, or maybe you just like to hold your bow that way, the string sometimes can accidentally slap your arm. And,
Also,
it has
if
all
you're
the power.
double jointed,
Yes, that's true.
or have just a different angle of your arm. Like
Yeah.
I wear an arm guard, even though I shoot compound, which is less common, but you'll still see it sometimes. It can also be a comfort thing. Like I haven't slapped my arm in ages, but just knowing
Ages.
that I have that arm guard on, makes me feel better about my shot. It's
Yeah.
one less thing I have to worry about. Because if you're pulling back, I mean, even a 20 to 30 pound recurve, and that string hits you, it will be
Oh
a
yeah, it leaves a
memorable
nice little
experience.
welt on your arm. Yep. So you can see them scoring right now. Some people are tallying up their scores, writing it down on paper. Some people are pulling.
And you'll score all of the targets on a single butt first. So you'll have
Yes.
one person
So
doing
it's
the
in between
paper
the green.
score, one person doing the electronic score, and then usually one person calling the arrows. So they'll tell you target. So our target assignments on top left to right are A and B, and then you go down to the bottom left and right is C and D. And so you'll call them out in that order and put the scores in. And then once all of the arrows on the butt are scored, then everybody will mark and pull their arrows. And that's when, if you want to cover your holes, you'll see some of those target A on that one right there has several
there you
holes
go.
in it. But then on target B, you don't see as many holes. So that could be a fresh target face.
Yeah, because Julia just switched out.
She
her
just
target.
switched hers out. So
Yeah.
you can see at that angle how having those black holes could be beneficial if you want to use them to help you aim, or if you're able to ignore them, but how they could kind of impede your
And you can see the marking right there too. So they just put a little line with a pen or Sharpie, whatever you want. You can also see some of the rings. So the blue is 6, and then you have the 8, the 7 and the 8 in the red. And then the yellow will be your 9 and 10. And for compound, it's just that tiny little X ring.
Yeah, so you actually see 2 circles within the 10 ring. So the biggest one is the 9, and then that middle one is what a lot of people call the Vegas 10 for compound, because for some tournaments like Vegas, that is
Oh, we're
scored
talking
as
about the
10.
outer ring. Okay.
Yes. And for recurve, that is the 10 ring that
Yes,
they use.
they get the
so they
larger
get the
ring.
larger ring.
That
For
should be
compound,
like half
though,
dollar size.
they just get the little X in the very center, and
Yes.
it's about the size of a dime
Yeah, it's
at
pretty
18
small.
meters. So
Yes. And then on the single spots, you have your white is your 1 and 2, and then black is 3 and 4, and then blue 5 and 6, and on and on. Same as the 3 spots. So they are getting ready. This should be their third end, and they rotate. So we have 2 lines going today because of all our archers. So we'll have an A-B line. You can see on the little timer down there. The dot is at the A. Oh, just kidding. It switched. So this is the B line. So this will be the bottom line. So they
So
will
that's
all.
what she was saying. They will alternate. So you'll have the top line shooting first, and then the next end you'll typically have the bottom line shooting first.
Yes.
And that's really helpful because you get a minute and a half to shoot your 3 arrows, and then the rest of the time you just kind of get a break. So it's really helpful to switch it off so that you get to take turns on who gets that break right after the pulling.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. Some people do it differently. Some people do like A goes first every time. Some people do B goes first every time, and some people rotate like we're doing today, where it'll be A B B A B B B. So it's kind of nice, and they have those little signs over there so that you can see the timing. So you want to make sure you get all 3 of your arrows off before that time gets to 0, because once it gets to 0, it is no longer considered a scoreable arrow. So you cannot use that score if you were to release after the time, which most people don't. They'll keep an eye on the score. I mean, the timer, and once they see that it's getting down, like if they see they only have like 2 seconds left, they won't even draw back because there's no point. You can't really get an arrow off that soon. But most people are pretty good. They watch the time, and if someone...
And you'll actually notice if you see an archer taking a long time
Yeah.
on it as the clock
That's what I was going to say.
gets low.
They'll shout it out for you. Got that nice angle in there now. They're all nice angles, but... And a lot of times you'll see kind of archery etiquette is that if someone is still shooting around you, you wait for them to release.
Before you step off the line.
Yes.
Because anything, especially at full draw while you're sighting, you want to limit your distractions as much as possible. And somebody walking past you or stepping strongly on the floor, or if they were to accidentally bump into you like you had at Vegas.
Yeah, I had a gentleman shooting next to me, and something, I guess, was loose on his bow. And so he tilts his bow backwards, and he's shooting a compound like these kiddos here. And he has that long rod, just like they do. And so he tilts that back to tighten something. And his weight's on the front. You can see those little pieces that kind of stick out wider than the stabilizer. And it would whack me on the back of my head. And I was like, hello? So you never know what's going to happen. So it's just polite to wait until the person in front and behind you, if possible, are not at full draw. So...
That's one of the benefits of going to so many tournaments just as practice, because it is different than you're just shooting at home.
Oh, definitely.
You have the time crunch. You have the other archers on the line. Sometimes you may know them, sometimes you may not.
You have different lighting, different sounds.
Yeah, the lighting is
Temperature.
something that can really affect
Oh, yeah.
your sighting. If you have a shadow across your target or a bright light, like last week at Nationals, A&M has really good lighting in general. But every range has areas that are a little bit lighter than others. So
Yeah.
last week I was shooting at a really bright target, and our home range is fairly dim. So it was like different because when you see those bright lights, it really makes the color on the targets pop. And
Yeah.
it can just change up your sighting a little bit.
Looks like the recurvers are waiting their turn. They're getting ready to call the line. So you'll have 2 whistles, which means the archers can step onto the line. They can knock an arrow and get ready. And then you'll have 1 whistle, which means you can fire, or you can draw back, really. Go through your shot, shoot your 3 arrows, and then you'll have 3 whistles, which means you can go down, score, mark, pull your arrows. And then they do it over and over. So
So
everyone
the
is going down
recurve
there.
is headed into end 4. So there's still one end ahead of this compound range.
I love seeing all the different, like, everyone has their own style. So there's a couple different styles of quivers that you'll see, and the quiver is what holds your arrows. So it's those things hanging down, goes around your waist. You can personalize your belt. A lot of people wear belt buckles because, I mean, who doesn't love a belt buckle?
You'll also sometimes see charms.
Yes, quiver
Or
candy.
you have quite a few
Yes.
quiver candy collected.
You'll also see towels. That little lanyard, the young man who has that blue quiver and the purple shirt, he has a little lanyard, and that's what his JOAD pins will go on. Those are the ranking pins we talked about from USA Archery. You can see here some of these. So, like the lady shooting all the way to the right, she has, I guess you would call it a standard quiver. I'm not really sure. Her arrows face in front of her. And then you have two over, it can see a field quiver. And that means the arrows point behind you. They're a little smaller. So
Which is
sometimes
helpful if you're shooting field or
Yes.
3D, because because the ranges are outdoors in nature, you can have tall grasses, you can have bushes, trees. So keeping those arrows more upright and close to your body lessens the likelihood of them getting caught or
Yes.
bumping into something else.
That's true. So you don't just have, so this is like indoor, right? Obviously. Archery's pretty simple, easy to understand. And then you also have a couple different outdoor. So you have outdoor FIDA, which is just outdoor target. Like it's just like this, but it's farther distance. So you'll have most people shoot, like compounds will shoot 50 meters, and then recurves will shoot 70. That's like what they shoot at the Olympics. They shoot outdoor 70 meters at 120 target face or something. It's really big, but they're shooting really far away. So, and then you have field, which is just what it sounds like. It's outside in fields. You have a little bit more variation. You have
You can
different
have
color
distance
targets too.
differences, and yes, different scoring targets. So like here,
Yes.
this is the FIDA target.
Yes. USA
And the
Archery
USA
target.
Archery FIDA target. You'll also have the SIWAT target, which is blue
And white.
and white,
Yes.
and it scores 1 through 5.
And that's what field is. They use the blue target faces.
Yes. And then they have a couple different faces. They also have the red and yellow
That's true.
5 scoring.
Yes. And then you have 3D, which are the animals. And usually the range that the compound and bare bows are in is usually their 3D range. So that is just what it sounds like. They are foam animals. And they get to they have aiming spots just like a target. Their points are a little bit different, but you stand at different angles. Sometimes they're up in a tree or around a bush and stuff like that. So it's really neat to see all the different types. So if you're like an outdoorsy person, you can shoot archery. If you're just strictly an indoor person, you can do that as well. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of archers who shoot multiple
Yeah.
disciplines, because then you can also shoot year round, because typically the outdoor season is over the summer,
Yes. Which
in
is hot in
Texas is very
Texas.
hot. But and then your indoor is more of the winter and spring.
Yes. And so outdoor has tournaments all over. They have them in Arizona and Florida. They have a lot though. Kentucky, yeah. So, and those will be your qualifiers for the USA team, which is really exciting. You know, get to go to a lot of major tournaments representing America. Get really cool jerseys too. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of jerseys out there today. That's
Not
one of
too
the things
many.
you get to pick when you come to a tournament. Do you want to wear your favorite T-shirt? Do you want to wear your team jersey? Or do you want to wear your bow jersey? Like, I don't think we have any actively down there right now.
I don't think
But,
so. We'll have to look later.
If you see
So there's
one,
there's an X10 jersey, right? That is X10. Yes, X10 Archery. They have jerseys, so that's his bow shop. It's who he shoots with
or club,
or club. That's true. And we have just regular old T-shirts. Judges have their own uniforms. They have red shirts with khaki pants. She's got a Prime shirt on, so that is the brand of bow that she shoots is a Prime.
you'll see Julia in her Hoyt jersey.
Yes.
And again, that she's shooting The latest Hoyt bow, the Hoyt Stratus.
Yes. Very nice. We have a few more, it looks like Joad Club maybe.
Yep, so that green and black shirt is a club shirt. So
And-
each club gets to design their own jersey if they want to. Those navy and red ones are also club shirts.
Yes. And they're kind of like a dry fit, like a really thick, nice dry
Just a
fit
jersey
material.
uniform.
Yeah. Just like you would for like baseball, I guess. Yeah. And they have those little pouches that they reach into. That's what their release is. So compounds don't use their fingers to release. They have a little mechanism that goes on their fingers, or some people use a trigger release with their finger, so let it go around their wrist. And there's a couple different types. There's a thumb release, which you can set off either by punching with your thumb, just like hitting a button, or you can use it as a back tension, rotating that scapula around to set off your release. Or you can use a back tension release, which it just has a little hook on it, just like the thumb, but there's no
It works
button.
off of angles.
Yes.
So the idea is as you rotate your arm and your scapula around, it will change the angle of your hand, and that is what
That's what sets it off.
the release.
And then you also have pressure releases, which is where as you pull against your back wall, a few pounds are added to your holding weight, and that's what sets off your bow. So that's what their pouches, a lot of people use their pouches for, is for setting that release down so you don't have to hold it while you knock your arrow.
You'll see some fun patches too, like right
Oh,
there
yeah.
we have one with eyes and ears
Oh,
on
yeah,
it.
right there. I see that.
Bucky's actually
They have pouches
made
now?
a
Wow.
release pouch that I saw in one of the archery groups a couple weeks ago, and it's just the Bucky Beaver
That's awesome.
as a pouch.
Because who doesn't love Buc-ee's? That's the best thing about coming to Houston. We pass a Buc-ee's on the way, so you have to stop. Like, Buc-ee's
It's
is
not
great.
really a road trip if you don't stop
That's
at Bucky's in
right.
Texas.
And you'll also see, especially the recurve, when they let go, so they do use their fingers, they'll come around, they'll release their fingers, they'll relax their fingers, and they'll pull with their back, and that hand will just come around and go right behind their head.
And that's
So
why you
we're
see
about to
most
see it
of
right
them
here.
after the release, you'll see their hand almost go to sit on their shoulder.
Yes.
Or behind
right
their
there,
ear.
yep. See that, how it comes back? She's almost touching her ear. So that's what recurve stresses that a lot. It just helps with your accuracy. It helps keep everything consistent. Archery is a lot about consistency. So the more times you can repeat something, the better chances you're going to have a more consistent arrow landing on your target.
Which is also another logical thing. If you have a consistent shot, you should have a fairly consistent arrow.
Yeah, like a lot of times you'll work on something and it doesn't go how you want it to, right? So you change it, and maybe you were hitting in like the yellow and red, and you change something and it goes to the white, and you're like, oh man, I'm not doing that again, But if all of your arrows start going to the white, then you just move your sight over and you're actually more accurate than before. So sometimes it kind of takes a little while to work through some stuff. But when you're grouping, which is where your arrows are close to each other, that's what you're really wanting in archery, is to get that good group. Even if you're shooting a 3-spot, you can still have a group because you're just looking at where it lands on your target. And once you have groupings, then you just move your sight, or moving. If you're a bare bow, you can move your fingers on your string to get it to go up and down, or you can aim slightly off. So archery is a lot about consistency. If you can repeat it, then you can duplicate, obviously. And that's going to help you raise those scores up and be more predictable on what you're able to shoot, when you're able to shoot it. We got some Texas A&M archery outfits today. We had a lot of their archers shooting last night. We had a lot of collegiate.
We did have a lot of collegiate last night. And it's helpful to have all those different shooting times.
Oh,
Friday
yeah.
evening, Saturday, Thursday evening. So you can find the one that works best with your schedule. This year it filled up pretty fast.
It did, yeah. They have a good size today.
And since
and
this is the
yesterday.
state tournament, you'll pull from
All over the state,
All
yeah, because
over.
this is the only location. So everyone's going to come here to shoot the several
in
different
COVID,
times.
we got a little spoiled.
Yeah, we did.
Because because of the occupancy rules. You could not have just one state tournament. So you had
Right.
several spread out
Yeah,
over the state. So
there
there
were
were
a lot.
actually a lot more people who got to compete just because of the closer distance. You know, you can, if you're in the valley driving,
Yeah, it's a long drive.
Texas is a big state.
Yeah.
So, but this year we're back to one location.
Yes.
Which is also helpful with the scores because we'll
It
have
is,
all of
yeah.
the results in. I know last night they handed out some medals.
Yeah, if you're the
because if
only
your
one.
division is finished, if everyone in your division has already shot,
Right.
then
Yes.
you will already know the results.
There's those quivers again, some of those quiver charms hanging down. You got the lanyards with your pins, the towels. Places like Houston Livestock Show, they actually give out towels in their little welcome
And those
bags.
towels are really helpful if you're shooting outdoors.
Oh,
if your
yeah.
hands are getting sweaty.
Yep. Make sure and run them through the wash after that. Julia has American flag on hers, which is pretty cool. She was telling us last night she tries to get all the Olympians that she meets to sign her flag.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was really neat.
That's cool. I
So-
love how personal archery is. You can kind of just make it fit into your lifestyle. You know, it's a sport that any age really can shoot.
Yep, any body type,
Any body type, any
athletic ability.
Yep, you can pretty much most people can pick up a bow and try it and make
Yeah.
it work for them. It's a great family activity. Because all ages can shoot it. I mean, you know, the 2 and 3-year-olds probably can on their own, but
Well, we coach a kid who's like 4, and he does it.
he
and
does a really
he's
good job.
He loves it, so it's really for anybody. Yep, and then your arrows also are very customizable. So you'll see some people with really fat arrows. So USA Archery allows up to a 23 diameter, and then you'll see a lot of recurves shoot really skinny arrows. So it's kind of how you like to shoot, how your bow shoots them best.
You're more likely to see the fat arrows indoors.
Yes, you are.
Because they have a bigger mass, they're more susceptible to wind drag, so they're less common outdoors. But indoors, they can be really helpful in getting that little bitty
Yeah,
inch
if you're already that close, just
to
getting
break a
that.
line. Because if you have a tiny arrow that's sitting, you know, a 16th of an inch away from the 10 ring, if that arrow is a 16th of an inch bigger, not literally a 16th of an inch,
Right.
but if it's just a hair bigger, then you can shoot an arrow in the same spot and it'll actually be counted as the higher score because
Yeah.
it breaks that line.
And you can see, like, that gentleman right there, he has an arrow puller. That's that little silver cross-looking thing. And that is to help with, especially compound. They, there's a lot of, it's heavy poundage. So you're shooting maybe 40, 50 pounds into the bale. Those arrows are going in with that force and that speed. So pulling them out is not always an easy task. So you're going to have, not everybody, but some people have arrow pullers to help just grip that arrow because sometimes it just slides right out of your hand.
Yep. I always use my right hand to pull arrows, and I actually have a callus
Oh, yeah.
on the side of my palm of like where I always grab that arrow to pull it out.
Yeah, archery, you definitely get weird calluses. Like, I went to the doctor one time, and I shoot, right, with a release aid, because we both shoot compound. And so I have calluses on my fingers, and they were like, what is that?
It's like, it's just archery scars. So he's actually wearing his quiver on his
He
back,
is, yeah.
which you will see sometimes more at 3D and field tournaments.
That's true. You can just pull it out. You don't have to worry about hitting your legs when you walk. That's all personal preference. Lots of bows out there today. I love all the different colors.
There's a lot of different brands represented this morning.
You have different, so your cam length. So your cams are the little black circles on the top and the bottom of your bow. And that is how you determine the length of the bow on a compound. It's called your axle to axle. And so the longer axle to axle are for taller people or for target archers. So I think it's 26 to 40 are considered, or 40 and above, are considered target bows. Most bows don't go over 40. And then it kind of depends on your height as well, because the farther...
It'll impact your draw length. So
yes,
like
that's
you
what I was about to
can't
say.
shoot as tall of a bow
Right.
as like Ryan here
'Cause I'm
because
short.
you're 8 inches shorter.
Yeah. No, more than that. I'm
Well.
over a foot shorter than Ryan. Yeah, he's really tall. So, but that's also, like, you got to trying out different bows, seeing how the string angle hits you. because the distance between your cams is going to change your angle, obviously, on your face. Then you have some different brands on the bare bows. You have Hoyt, you have Win and Win. I don't see any Galaxies out there today. I'm not sure. There's a lot of different. There's some Korean brands too. I think that's what that purple one is.
And they all have the
Oh no,
different
it is a Win
colors
and
that
Win.
you can personalize with.
Different styles too. Like that silver one up there looks really cool. It has huge limb pockets. That's what the long black parts are the limbs, and they go into the riser, which is the silver part. So that is that's how they assemble their bow. And so the bare bows you actually take down. You'll unstring it and take the limbs off and put it in a case. The compounds you do not unstring. You have to have a bow press for that. That's something that holds your limbs. Same as the recurve, they have limbs. They're just short. And you'll put it on a bow press, squeeze it. It lets off the pressure, and then you'll take your string out. But that's only if you're changing out strings. Compounds pretty much always stay strung. So when you're collapsing it down, we have a little bit bigger case, and we'll just take off the stabilizers and the sight and stuff like that, and then we'll collapse it down. And the recurves will do the same as the bare bow. They will take off everything, and they will unstring and take down their actual bow itself. So
So the recurvers just finished their 5th end.
wow, so they're halfway through the half.
through, and I think the compounders are now scoring their 5th end.
Are they? Okay, so they're pretty close. Last night we were a
Last
few
night the
ends off.
recurvers were
Yeah.
almost 2 ends ahead, I think.
But there were a lot fewer recurvers last night, I think.
yeah, we
So,
almost have full lines.
Yeah, there's a
in
lot today.
Both rooms today. Texas Archery is a really large facility, so they have the 3 ranges plus
Yep.
the outdoor. They're almost 26,000 square feet.
Yeah, they're
So
really nice.
they have a really nice shop.
Yes, they have
with
shirts,
merchandise.
bows, all the little equipment that you could ever think of. They have cases, targets, finger tabs, finger slings, arm guards, everything. They pretty much have it all.
They're the Buckies of archery.
Yes, there you go. Texas Archery, the Buckies of archery. You'll also see the posters, so those are for the different bow brands. I haven't seen any bow
Or
techs
just
today.
archery companies.
That's
so we
true.
have Hoyt, which is the bow brand.
Easton is arrows. Bowtech is bows, obviously. Ultraview. Oh, that's Ultra Rest. Oh, just kidding. Ultraview is releases and sights. I think Quad is arrows, right? I think it is. Maybe. We'll see. So you have lots of different types.
It's a drop away rest.
Oh, it's a drop array rest. Just kidding. Quad is a drop array rest. There you go. There's a lot of different brands out there.
There are. Yeah, we went to Vegas for the first time
Yes,
this year.
that was awesome.
Very exciting.
Highly
But they
recommend
have
it.
a trade show going on the same time as the tournament, and
Yes.
they had
I think they had
probably 100
booths.
vendors
Yeah, so that's like
there.
all different companies representing what they offer, what they bring.
and a lot of them had equipment that you could try out. There were a lot of rests
Yes.
there to try, a lot of
Releases,
releases, some
sights.
optics.
Yeah, and not even your in a compound, you can actually put a lens in your sight, call it a scope, kind of like a rifle, and you can actually put a lens to zoom up on your target. I guess you would say it's like a magnifying glass.
It
kind
is
of
like a
thing.
magnifier, yes.
So, but not only that, at Vegas, they also had optics for, like your binoculars. They had different binocular brands.
and
So.
scopes for spotting.
Oh, that's true. You have spotting scopes, so that's
You'll see
like
that more outdoors
Yeah,
because it's so much
so
farther
far
away.
away.
Although at some indoor tournaments, you will see their
Yeah, there's some
parents
at
or
A&M.
coaches with their spotting scopes watching.
So it's like a binocular, but it's a singular, and it's on a stand, like a tripod.
It's a lot more powerful than
Yeah.
binoculars, so it needs to be on a stand so that you don't
Right,
have
you don't
that
have the wobble. Yep. So
Lots of white bows out
I
there
know, right?
today.
So the limb color is also personal preference most of the time.
Some companies won't have as many
Yeah, usually it's white and
limb
black,
colors,
but sometimes there's lots of others. So you can see all the parents watching too. So they get those nice step areas. They can kind of chill out and talk or whatever. They also have shirts
Last
for
night
sale
you had
today.
lots of younger siblings hanging out up there playing cards.
Yep, there's the
and
shirts.
There are the shirts.
There's us. Yeah,
So we have state championship shirts.
Yes, we do.
We have
They're
there's
very
a new
nice.
archery mom
Yes.
T-shirt, and this
That
year
is awesome.
Molly is actually working on the shirts while we're here, so you can actually get your name put on your shirt.
Wow.
So like if you want a state championship shirt that then has your name across the back of it,
Man, Tiggs Archer's
that
the
is
best.
available today. So
Oh, there's a PSE bow too. We forgot to mention them. Oops. There's a lot of different brands. Oh, there's the monster pouch you were talking about.
yes,
That young lady
yeah,
has
you'll
walking
see
away.
some really fun pouches and quiver. They call it quiver candy.
Yeah, it's
Those
a little,
charms or toys that are hanging off your quiver. You have a Rubik's cube.
Yes, I like to do the
on
Rubik's
yours.
Cube. That's fun.
It's just a little like
It's
inch and a
miniature.
half by inch and a half, but it's still 4 squares.
Yeah,
So,
if you ever want to do a Rubik's Cube.
yeah, you had a couple of clusters at
Yes.
different tournaments
It's-
of
it's
just like
nice.
you'll see a crowd of people huddled around, and there's a Rubik's
Right.
cube in the middle.
It's nice to get your mind off because archery it's very mentally challenging.
Engaged.
Yeah, you have to really stay focused on your shot process and what you're thinking about. You know, staying in the present and not thinking about, oh man, I need to get this score today, because you start doing that and then you start forgetting what you're supposed to be doing at the moment. So having something like that, some kids, they like to sketch. I've seen some adults reading books, like just while they're waiting, because it just helps take that mind off, you know, especially like a lot of these archers, you know, their divisions are so tight. So that's a lot of pressure that sometimes they put on themselves, or like, you know, oh, that's a nice score right there. We got a 30. That's a perfect score, all on the inner 10. Those are those fatter arrows we were talking about too. That's always a great score. Not to say that other archers don't have great scores. Everyone's at a different point. Just because you don't have a perfect score does not mean you're not a great archer.
That's one of the benefits of the ranking pins.
Yeah, that's why I like
Because
that too.
To place at these tournaments, especially in the older compound divisions.
Oh yeah,
there
like
is
the
a
men.
lot.
Oh my goodness, there's
a
so
lot
many.
of competition. But the ranking pins are more based off of your personal performance.
Yes.
So you don't have to place to go up in your ranking pins. It's just
Correct.
based off of you. So it's more of a competition with yourself
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
than
'cause
with other people.
You can't control how everyone else does. And I mean, would you really want someone to like not have a good day so you could place? I mean,
Well,
I
and
guess
some of these yesterday in recurve, we have Casey Caulfield shooting.
yeah, she went to the
who,
Olympics.
She's an Olympic archer. She's currently she's in the
Five?
top
I think
5 in
she's-
the
I think
world.
she's fifth.
And so, you know, showing up and finding out you're in recurve
Right.
competing against literally one of the best archers in the world. Last night we had Sawyer Sullivan.
Yeah, and he broke
He
a
broke.
national record. He shot a 5.99.
He broke it at A&M at Nationals last
Yes, he
weekend, and then
did.
he broke his own record last
Yes.
night again.
Yes, for his age. I think is for his age division. I'm not sure. He shot really good. So he shot a 300, which is perfect, the whole 10 ends, and then the next 10 ends he shot a 299, which, like, that sounds like, oh, that's cool, right? No, that's like so hard. Archery is really a challenging sport, and a lot of people, like, when I first started, I was like, oh, like I can just shoot the middle, like no problem. And it is not that easy.
You'll
like
see kids
Brave and
watching the
stuff.
archery
Yeah.
movies, and they're like, "Well, Robin Hood can do it."
Yeah,
It's like,
no.
well, Robin Hood has set directors.
A lot of these archers have been shooting for 5, 7, 10, 15 years. And, you know, maybe not like all the time, but it takes a lot of practice. And, you know, honestly, like just how much time you put into it. And recurve actually, I've heard takes longer. Like you have to have more practice just because there's so many steps. There's what, like 160 something steps. It's insane. Like
when you break everything down into
yeah,
little minute details,
steps. Yeah. So archery looks like it's super easy, but like these archers are working really hard and they're going through everything that they know they have to do to get that little tiny arrow in the little tiny X ring. So
Or 10 ring.
or
for
10 ring.
recurve.
Well, I mean even
We're
like
both
the recurves.
compound
Yes,
shooters,
we are.
so you'll hear us get a little carried away with compound occasionally because we are slightly biased.
But
in
even
that
the
area.
recurve, I mean they're still aiming. for the tiny ring because, aim small, miss small, works most of the time. So, you know, it's easier to fine tune when you're aiming at something that's smaller. So,
That's actually an interesting point because some people, so on these targets, you'll have the 1 through 10 ring, and
yes, the single spots.
yes, and then on the 5 spots, it'll be the 6 through 10 ring.
Three
And then
spots,
for some
yes.
targets, like the sidewalk target at NFAA,
Mm-hmm.
you have it's a 1 through 5 ring, but the 5 ring is actually the size of the 9 ring, and that
Yes,
is
you see a
the
lot more
perfect end.
300s.
And then you'll see the that smaller 10 ring is the X. So you get your total score and then you count your X's.
Yes.
Some people though will actually have a harder time hitting it on
Yeah,
a sidewalk face
because you
because
don't
they're
have that.
aiming at something
That's
larger.
bigger, yeah.
So you'll see archers who hardly ever have an 8 in USA faces, but they won't break 300
Right.
on a sidewalk's face, which is the same size as shooting it on the USA face. But it's that when that aiming spot opens up a little bit, sometimes it can
It's harder
make
to
your shot
focus.
break
Yeah.
down.
There's some of our wonderful judges. They're watching to see if anybody needs anything. There's a Texas Archer right there in the Spider X Joad jersey. So that is part of their Joad team. It's really cool to see. They have lots of kiddos.
Yeah, so you'll see that Spider X Archer who has what looks like tape on her jeans.
Oh, yeah.
So USA Archery has a dress code,
That's what
and
that
one of
is?
those
Oh,
things are
no.
no ripped jeans. So if you show up to a tournament in an outfit that does not meet dress code,
You gotta tape
you will
it over.
be
Yeah.
required to either change or fix it. So
I
she
thought it was knee
probably
braces.
put duct tape over her
Over
rips.
her holes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they don't have like a whole bunch of dress code. I think.
The biggest ones are you have
The-
to have closed toe shoes.
Yes.
Your hair has to be pulled away from your face.
I don't think that's an actual rule. I don't know.
It's a strong suggestion.
It's a strong suggestion, but I've seen some people with their hair down, so I'm not
And
sure.
then you
have to have
You have to have
sleeves.
sleeves, no
Yes.
tank tops,
And you have to have. You can't have rips in your
no
jeans.
rips in your jeans. Some tournaments don't allow jeans
That's
at
true.
all
In Vegas,
some of the championship.
the championship, yeah. You can't shoot in camo.
That's right.
But
and
you
that is
can have a camo
actually
bow.
a world archery rule.
Yes, because of different countries.
Different countries have different etiquette and culture surrounding
Mm-hmm.
camouflage. A lot of times it is regulated to the military specifically.
That's correct.
So at a lot of major tournaments, sometimes even camo bows are not allowed.
That yeah, in international, yeah, that's true.
And in 3D and field, because the wood marks on your bow can be used to judge
Oh.
distance, which is considered an advantage
Yeah.
and not
Can't
allowed.
do that. Yeah, so in 3D, sometimes you know the distance, like we know today, we're shooting 18 meters, but sometimes you don't know the distance, so you're just going, that looks like that's that far away. And
Some of
so
those you are allowed to use range
that's
finders.
true. Sometimes you are.
And like Paige
Kinda
Pierce has a
gauge that.
lot of tips on her
Yes,
pages
she
about how
helps
to
with that a
judge
lot.
distance just using your eyes, your bow, your scope.
Yeah, like, oh, my dot looks like this on this size face, so I know I'm generally this far away.
Yep.
It's very
like
helpful.
if you know you're shooting, for example, I shoot a ring instead of a pin or a dot,
She's talking
and
about in
so
her
I
scope.
know that my ring on my scope fits perfectly around the 9 ring on the target. So I have some vision challenges. So when I'm sighting, I can't see the 10 ring, so I just line up that black ring on my scope with the general 9 and shoot through it. I also really like being able to see what I'm shooting at.
Yeah.
So for that example, if I walk up to a 40 centimeter target and hold up my ring and it fits all the way around it, I know I'm shooting at
Right.
18 meters, 20 yards ish. If it's the size of the 8 ring, I know I'm a lot farther back.
Right. Yeah, and then the recurves also have sights, but they actually have to have smaller sight housing. So their scopes are like itty bitty, and they're not allowed to have any optics inside that little
Right,
tiny
so
pin.
they are just shooting with a pin or
Yes.
a ring.
So that's what that blue bar is sticking out on his bow. That's his sight. And then there's a
See that
tiny little pin.
silver
There it is.
pin and circle
That's
on her
look,
bow. You
hers
can
is
really
tiny.
see it.
So you can have a little bit. You can have different apertures, but thickness-wise, they do check that. They when the judges first before we start, They'll go over your equipment like we were talking about earlier, and that is one thing that they will check to make sure that your sight housing is not too wide or too
And
fat,
that's
I
why
guess.
you have, like, if you're qualifying for any of your Olympian pins, you have to have a judge actually
Yes, you
sign your
do.
scorecard and then scan that and send it into USA Archery to prove that not only you shot the accurate scores, but that you shot it with legal equipment.
Yes, and a lot of the Texas archery youth got their pins at nationals. We had
Yes.
several bronze, a few silvers. So bronze in
And
the
I think they
youth.
had 8 kids get top 10 in the
Yeah,
nation.
they did really well. Yeah. So bronze pin would be uh, on a compound. I think all of theirs were compound. Most of their kiddos that that I saw who got their ranking pins were compound. So it's a 285 out of 300 for the bronze, and then silver is 290 out of 300 again, and then gold is 295. So you're shooting 5 points from perfect on that dime size X, unless you're shooting fixed pin or freestyle as NFAA calls it. That's the shorter stabilizers, and you're not allowed to move. You're not allowed to have optics, and you're not allowed to move your sight once you start the scoring
tournament.
rounds. Yeah, scoring ends.
Yeah.
So
So the recurvers are currently on their 8th end, so they'll
wow,
have
okay,
2 more
two
after
more, and then
this,
the
and then
break.
they'll get to take a break and compound and barebow. We're leaving barebow out a little bit.
I'm so sorry. We will definitely talk more about barebow.
They are walking back from scoring either I think their 7th end.
Okay, so we're not too far behind. Yeah.
7 ends is what is loaded on the app.
So most of the barebows shoot a single spot. That's why you see a lot of the compounds will shoot 3 spots, like we talked about earlier, because of
Yeah, I think those first 3 butts down there
Yes.
are pure
pure
barebow.
And I think you may have a little bit of a mixture on 4. I'm not sure. And that wall with all those blue and white targets, those are the SciWat, Shoot Your Way Across Texas. That's through National Field or Texas Field.
Texas Field Archery
Um,
Association.
yes.
And those are
Those are
their
their
300
300
targets.
Yes, that's what we were talking about. If you shoot all of your arrows in the white, that counts as a 5, so that's a 300 for a full tournament. And then you also count your X's, like Emmy was just talking about.
Yeah.
So that's all there. That's pretty impressive. It's
Yeah,
not an
Texas
easy
Archery had
feat.
2 or 3. They have something where if you shoot a perfect 60x,
Yes.
you get a special
You get a
belt
belt
buckle
buckle?
at certain tournaments.
Yes.
And they had 2 or 3
I think more than that. Yeah, they
who
had a
got it
lot.
on the last SciWat. So
Yep.
this line is waiting. It looks like they had a judge call down there on one, so we're
someone's
just
fixing
waiting for a
holes.
couple of archers to come on back. And the judges will always be the last ones to come back to make sure that the range is clear, that everyone has actually pulled their arrows. Sometimes you'll see that
Yes,
archers
that did
getting
happen
really
at Aggie Invitational this year. There was a young man, like 2 people down from me, and he had forgotten to pull his arrows. And so I
you
think
want
that
to notice that before the first whistle
Yes.
blows, because if not, they will usually not stop the line to let you retrieve them.
I think they did let him make up. I'm not sure though. I don't know.
That would
That's
probably
up to
be
the
a judge
judges.
call.
Yeah. So
Got a good age range
we do. Yeah.
on the line today.
Lots of different.
Lots of family members shooting today.
Yeah, that's true.
That's another nice thing about archery tournaments is if your whole family likes it, it can be one sport
Yeah.
that everybody shoots, everybody can grow with, and then you have all activities at one
Yeah.
location.
And they don't have to compete against each other because they could shoot recurve, barebow, or compound, or fixed pin, or longbow. So
And fixed pin is actually a new category this year in
That's
USA
true.
Archery. Other organizations have had it in the past, but this is the first year that the bow hunters, so the archers who don't have optics and don't have long stabilizers and V-bar, get their own category, which is really nice
yeah,
because
And they
if
get-
you're competing with a hunting site or even just
Right.
a fixed pin site where you can't adjust it. So on some of these scopes, you will see a little bar on the side and you can micro adjust your sight. Like ours are almost 20 clicks per revolution. So if you're just sitting on the edge of the 10 ring, you can move it 3 clicks to just knock it over a little bit more. So if you don't have one of those sights, if you have a bow hunter sight, then you are at more of a disadvantage if
Oh
you're
yeah,
competing. So it's
yeah,
really nice
definitely.
that they added that bow hunter division.
And they get to use the outer 10 ring, so that would be the
Yes, bow
Vegas
hunter
ring.
will use that recurve 10.
And you see a lot of people bring their bows up, recurve compound especially, sometimes bare bow as well. And that's just to get that shoulder. You want your shoulders to be low and level. So that's to get that
To
shoulder
help your bones
nice
get
and
into
steady.
more
Yes.
alignment. There are certain limits on how high you can come
Yes.
up the angle of your bow.
While
You want
drawing.
to make sure that you're not sky drawing, which is if you actually start to draw back your bow with your arrow pointed above the target butts.
Yes. That is not allowed.
And
You know,
that's just more of like a safety thing so that
yeah.
you don't have arrows flying way overhead if you were to accidentally release.
Yeah. So you see the bare bows over there, they actually draw a little bit different than the compound. Ellie has a nice pre-draw there. So she's getting some of that weight while she comes up, and then she'll draw the rest of the way once she's up. And then bare bows typically, not always, but typically release more like a recurve. Sometimes they don't go
Or
all the
you'll
way
see
behind
those
their head.
hands come all the way
Yes.
back.
And a
Sometimes
lot
it
of the
won't be as
compounds will too.
drastic of a movement
Right.
because, especially on youth bows, either because their muscles are not like fully developed or their bow is not as heavy, so you don't have as much momentum pushing
Right.
that back.
Yep.
Yeah, so like as Julia goes to draw, she levels it up to set her shoulders, and then as she draws it back to her anchor, it's more like one smooth motion.
Yeah, and some people, they'll come up nice and high. Some people like to go nice and level. It's kind of just however high you need to go to get that front shoulder to just set down in socket. And then a lot of the compounds you'll see they're setting down, they're not actually on a bow rack. They have their own stands. Whereas the recurves, like here, sometimes
You
they'll
can
have
see all
their,
those stabilizers
yes,
that are
pointing
sticking
up.
up into the air. Those are all bows that are resting in their stands right now.
And then they also come up a little bit. You can see that. And then they actually draw a little bit before they come up fully, and then they will draw back to their face. That's to help them get into alignment. That's really big when you're at the advanced stages. You want to get that bone alignment so that you're more stable in your shot. They call it the barrel of the gun. You want to get your shoulders, your arms, everything aligned so that you have more stability. You can't collapse your arms as easily. So she's almost drawn some there.
And that's really helpful, especially if you're shooting a heavier bow,
Yes.
because you can get your bones and your muscles to work
Oh,
together.
look at that group. That's really good.
That's a very nice
So that's
group.
what you want to see. You want to see those tight arrows together, because even if they're not like all in the yellow, you can move them once you get a little bit further along, like that one too. They've gotten that, and even the one on the right there, they have two together and then one off. But that two together, that's what you're really looking for. And archery is always a process, so like you're never gonna get it perfect every time. I mean, maybe if you're like a pro and you're like really, really good. But like most of the average archers, like, you're still working out kinks. A lot of people are making changes even while they're like, they may make a change 2 or 3 days before a tournament just because like they're trying to get better in the long run. So not necessarily this specific tournament.
And a lot of that is also based off of your goals. Is your goal
Yes.
to win at this tournament? Is your goal to have this certain form 5 months down the road?
Right. Well, we had a lot of people last night shooting. Well, I guess not a lot. We had a couple recurves who are trying out for the Olympic team coming up in 2024. And so their goal is the Olympic team. So they may be making changes. And if they don't place at this tournament, that's okay, because if they're meeting those goals
Because
to
a
get
lot
on
of
the Olympic
times, if you'll
team,
make a change right before a tournament, if it's not fully worked through, you may not see the results at the very next
Right.
tournament. But couple months down the road or a couple weeks down the road, depending on how big of a change it was,
Right.
then you'll see those results.
Hello.
So we are just, I think they're heading into their 9th or 10th
I was
end.
just wondering about that. We should be getting close to that. So,
The recurves, I believe, are on their 10th end, and I think
Alright.
the compounders are about to head into
here's
their
the
9th.
scores for everyone. So, see how nice and lovely that is? Everyone's in their own age division, own bows, everything like that, bow class.
And if you don't know the division of your archer, there's a handy little search bar up
Yep.
there where you can search
Your
where they
archer.
are in.
Yeah,
So
and-
the compounders are headed into their 10th end.
Okay.
Their 9th end. The recurvers are headed into their 10th end.
And you can see, like, they'll tell you, like, how many arrows out of the 60 have been shot. And then they'll also rank you, and, like, you can click on the names and see the actual detailed out score for each arrow, for each end, stuff like that. So,
yeah, some of the ranking won't be accurate until everybody's done, because
Right.
you'll
We
see
still
at the
have one more line
tops,
today.
you'll see archers who have already completed their full tournament.
that's true.
And then archers who are still halfway through. So obviously, the archer who is still halfway through will show up ranked lower
Right.
than the first archer, even though they may end up outscoring them. But keeping up on the score, and if you're on Eyes on Score, when you click on somebody's name, it's gonna show you all of their ends, all of their arrows.
It also shows
So you'll be able to see, if somebody has.
how many 10s they have, or did they shoot an 8, or did they shoot a 9, or anything like that. It also shows you the target butt that they're on, so the bail assignment. It shows you the shooting time. This is really helpful because you're like, are they shooting this morning? Are they shooting this afternoon? So it gives you all that information. So we're back to the compound and bare bows. Got a lot
It's a
more.
very smooth tournament.
It
today.
really is. Yeah, Texas Archery is really good about running on time, very smooth.
Because we're at 9:30 and we are about halfway done.
Wow, and we started at 8, so yeah, that's very efficient.
You'll see some tournaments that they will take
Forever.
forever.
Yeah. We went to a tournament once, and there was an issue with registration, and so I think there were a few people.
Their registration website stopped processing registration forms, but it kept telling the archers' families that it was accepting it.
Yeah.
So they had like
We had-
10 archers
Yeah.
register that the host never got confirmation of it. So they were actually over capacity. So they had
We actually shot 3 lines
three
that night.
lines.
And I think we started at 6, and we didn't end till like 11:45. Like, it was so
It was a
late.
very long tournament.
So Texas Archery is really good about getting it nice and smooth and on time.
And you'll see the booth behind the archers. That is the judges box.
Yes.
And that's so that they can just kind of keep an eye on all the archers, make sure that everything's going smoothly. Because in USA Archery, if you have an equipment failure on the line or a medical issue on the line, you can step back and raise your hand, and a judge will come up and kind of see what's going on, what you need. And usually you will be able to then shoot makeup arrows, not for
Yes.
what you have already shot, but if you're shooting and your stabilizer rattles off your bow or your sight.
Well,
I
like,
was
there's
shooting
a-
at my very first tournament at
Oh, yeah.
A&M
That was.
when my sight housing came loose and my lens
It just fell
and
on the
whole
floor.
sight thing jumped 4 feet in front of me and fell all over the floor. And so I had to step off the line and raise my hand. And it was
Yeah.
actually Scott from Texas Archery
Yep, that
who
was the first
came
time we
over.
met him.
That was the first time we met him
Yep.
and helped me put it back together because I was first tournament away from home, and it was a very interesting experience.
It
But it all
was.
worked out. So then, because I did not have time to finish shooting those arrows, I had makeup arrows at the end.
And we saw that last
to-
night too. We had a few recurve arrows that were made up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what the challenge was there, but they
But that is
they
a
do
nice.
allow that.
That's a nice
Yes.
thing. If you have something out of your control, you may fix it and then come back and make up any arrows that you missed while you were fixing it. You can't fix the arrows that were already shot. So like
Sadly.
if it rattles off, sometimes especially with your stabilizers, if you have
Oh,
one
yeah.
come loose as you're shooting, it can really throw that shot off. So you can't reshoot the one that's already in the target, but you can reshoot any that you missed because of the time to fix it.
Right. Yeah, and the judges are super great. Like, they're all just so nice and encouraging. Like, you don't have to be
And
scared
they really
to go up
want
and ask
what's
questions.
best for the
oh,
archer.
Yeah.
So that is
That's really
really
helpful.
nice. The community in archery is just
Oh,
a
it's amazing.
wonderful group of people who genuinely, I can talk still, want to support each other and support young up and coming archers, and just archery as a sport and as a community. And it's really refreshing to have that.
Oh, yeah. It's so nice.
support.
It's like a breath of fresh air. It's like, oh, nice
Yes.
people. Even when you're like competing against them. Like, I was on a target a couple years ago. I think it was my first nationals. No, it was my second Aggie invitational. And oh, look at that.
Got
That's a
some
really
nice
tight group.
groups down there.
So here they've switched and they've started the bottom line first. Oh, look at that. You can see them as they hit. No one else gets this view. Y'all are very, very lucky. We get to have
And you'll
up
see that
close.
3-spot target right there where it has some of those holes that have been tucked up under.
Mhm. And this is what we're talking about with changing out the target faces. So you'll see on those bottom two, that 9-10 line is really shot through. So like at the half, I don't know if they'll change it out, but they probably
Some
will.
tournaments require you to change it out every 5 ends,
Yes.
every 10 ends. Others are just up to the archer, or if a judge can ask you to change out your face if you have too many.
Yes, too many holes, too close to the line. You're getting a gaping hole. You don't want that. Unless, of course, it's in the very center. Then that's fun. But even that, you want to make sure you get those line calls. So you want to change that out too.
Yes, because you don't want to have an arrow that's stuck in a big black hole where the judge can't tell, is it a 9 or is it a 10?
Yeah, you want to get that. Every little point counts. But yeah, I think it was our second Aggie, and I was on the bell. There were only 4 of us in my division. We were all on the bell together, and they were like, everyone was so nice. And I was like, I didn't really know totally what I was doing then, because like we were pretty new, and they were so encouraging and like helping me out all the questions I had. So archery is really like, some people are like super chatty, and some people are like, I'm good, like I don't need to talk. So it's kind of nice because you get to kind of meet new friends
And then those are friends that you get to see at future
yeah.
archery tournaments
Yeah, it's really nice.
for as long as you're shooting.
You're never too old to pick up archery. So
That's right.
y'all should hop on over and try archery because it's the best.
So our recurvers,
This is their
this is their
tenth?
last end
Okay.
before the half. I guess I was off one end before.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, so they'll take a break. They can go to the bathroom, get a snack, chit chat, replace targets, evaluate how they're shooting. It's a pretty big part of that. You know, if you haven't had your best first half, so you want to get those kinks worked out for the second half.
shake it off, or just enjoy if it is
Yep.
going well.
Yep. Go chat with your friends or your mom and dad.
It's
Brother,
interesting
sister.
too because you'll really see which archers are introverted and which archers
Oh
are
yeah,
extroverted.
it's amazing.
Because you'll have some archers who will just really stay in their bubble in between shots, and like you
Yes.
can tell they're very inwardly focused, and they kind of need that pull in between ends or in between the halves. And then you'll see other archers who are just bubbly, outgoing. You can tell they crave that social buzz between arrows.
Some archers will even talk to themselves on the line. Like
I
they
do
whisper.
that
Yeah.
sometimes. Yes, it's like
Sometimes we all do that.
especially because at home, like you're used to being able to talk
Right.
to yourself,
Your home
and
range.
then you go out in public, and then you're like, oh shoot, I said that out loud.
Yeah, we're a little spoiled. We have our own range, so that's always nice. But like a lot of these, well, at least some of these archers, this is their home range too. So it's kind of like shooting on their home turf. Like if you have a home game and like football or baseball or something, you know the environment, you know what it's like. It's a little bit more relaxed. So that's nice too.
And tomorrow and tonight for the shoot off, they will bring up
Yes, the stages.
for the archers to stand on, and they will have spotlights on them. So it'll really, if you've ever watched a video of a pro shoot off at a major tournament,
Yeah, like
it's-
Lancaster does
it can be really intimidating because you'll
can,
see
yeah.
the archers sitting on this little black stage, and it's only like a 5-foot square. that's about a foot higher than the rest of the ground, and they'll be sitting up on that, and then they'll have a spotlight on them and a spotlight on the target.
And everything
which,
else is dark.
like we were talking about shadows, that can really impact how you're sighting and like what everything looks like.
Yeah.
And it can also just like mess with your mind
Yeah,
sometimes
everyone's
because it's
watching
no
you.
longer a line of all these archers shooting. It is you and one other person under the
Yeah.
spotlight. So that'll be some really great experience for these archers to kind of, if they make it to the shoot off tomorrow for the money shoot,
Yeah. So it'll be the top
to
16.
have that.
And then they will compete. And for recurve and barebow, they do matches. So they'll shoot 3 arrows, and whoever has the highest score gets 2 points. If they tie, they both get 1 point. If you lose, you get no points. So they'll do, I think they're doing 5 sets of those.
And then whoever has
whoever
the
has the
highest
highest.
number of points at the end
Yes,
will
they'll
be
go on-
declared the winner.
They'll go on to then they'll do the top 8. And
For
then,
compound, though, they do a running score.
Yes, they
so it'll
do.
be the total running score after 5 ends to decide the winner.
yes. So it'll be possible of a 150. Got some more archers shooting there. So I believe he has his quiver on his back. So that's what that strap is going across him. So that's just personal preference, whether you like it on the ground or on your
You
back.
won't see that as common indoors.
Yeah, not so
but-
much. But
So
every
this
now
is
and
the
then.
second line coming up for their last end before the half.
Okay.
And those are the whistles that you're hearing, the 2 whistles to come to the line. And in USA Archery, you can actually load your arrow
Yes, you
after
can.
those 2 whistles.
Oh, look at that. We can see the arrows flying. That was really neat.
That is a cool view. So
They
in
have
just a
awesome
second,
cameras here.
you will see, there they
Look
go,
at that.
those
That's
little
really neat.
black things flying down range.
Yeah, when we were in Vegas, we went to watch. Was it the World Series?
And no,
we were
it was the championship shoot-off. We were sitting off to the
Vegas.
side.
Yeah, and like all the seats were full, and this is like a huge stadium too. Like it was a lot of people, and we were sitting off to the side, and you could just see all the arrows flying at the same time. It was really cool. Oh, look at that! That was really
Yeah,
close
you
to
can
the
see those
camera.
arrows going by. The other equipment thing you'll see is on the compound bows. Some of them, it's called split limbs.
Oh, that's
where
true.
like on that white, I think that's a
I think it's a PSE.
PSE.
Yeah.
On that white bow right there, you will see it has 2 limbs on the top and 2 limbs on the bottom that are not connected to each other. But then on that
the
elite to the
yeah.
left of that, it is one solid limb. That's also a personal preference. It can
It
change
is.
how you tune the bow. So like on the split limbs, you can adjust the bow on either side, whereas on the single limb, you only adjust the one that you have. So
Right. And then I think on some of the bows, they actually they're not even connected, like the split limbs.
yeah,
So you
and
can
we also have
micro
shoot through
adjust them.
risers out there, like
Yes.
on all or
The first
on
two.
Julia Stratus and on the white bow,
think
you
it's a
have a
Matthews.
shoot through riser, which is where you have
It's a way too. I was saying I think they're both Stratuses.
yes, so you'll have that almost like a window that you're
Yeah.
shooting through. Where on that
The
other white bow
Matthews
on the
has
end of
a-
Matthews, it is just on one
one-sided.
side.
Yeah.
That can add some stability to your bow, but it's also a personal
Yeah.
preference.
Some people
Like,
just don't like having that small window to look through.
I'm the opposite. I love my
Yeah, we both
shoot through riser
through
because I
dartons.
feel like it gives you that tunnel vision of looking through your riser, through your peep, through your sight to the target.
Yes. So this was their half, correct?
I believe this
or
was
did
their
they have
half.
one more? Let's check.
So
and
this
see.
will be if this is their half, then it'll be a little bit longer scoring because they'll want to double check everything
yes,
at
this
the half.
So this was their half. So you can.
So as soon as those
hop on
scores
Eyes
go
on
in,
Scores.
their first round will be over.
Yes.
They'll get a 10 to 15 minute break to chill, get food, refill drinks, take a bathroom break, and then they will resume and shoot 10 more. They
Yep.
do not get a practice end
That's
after
true.
the half.
Nope. They go straight
They
into
will go
it.
straight into scoring ends yet again. They'll shoot
Okay.
10 more, and then this line will be through.
Yep. You can see just how many archers there are. There's a lot. And a lot of those blank ones, either they were not able to make it, but
Or they
most of
could
them,
still be
they're
shooting.
shooting this afternoon. Yeah.
So we'll have one more line at noon, and that's the line that Ellie and I are both shooting
Yes.
on. And then they will get all of those results in. So state championships, The top 3 in the division will place first, second, and third.
Yes, they'll all get a
and
medal.
those results we will have right after the noon line.
Yes.
And then after that, so we actually have 2 separate tournaments going on
Yes, 'cause
this weekend.
the-
So we have the TSAA State Championship, which is what these scores are used for. And then the scores are also taken for the money shoot tomorrow, and that will be where the top
That's the Texas
16,
Open.
the Texas Open, where the top
Yes.
16 in each division will go to the shoot off, and the top 6 in youth will get payouts,
Yes.
and the top
I think recurve and barebow are 6. I'm not sure if compound is 5th or 6th, but I think they were trying to get 6 for all. So we'll have to wait and see. But
So
and
that's where there has been some confusion over the shoot off is not actually for the state championship. It is
No.
for the Texas Open money shoot.
yeah, you do not actually
So-
have to be Texas resident to shoot in the Texas
That
Open.
is true. To shoot in the state championship, to use your scores for that, you do have to be a Texas
Yes.
legal resident.
But you can shoot it and just not place for the state.
You can shoot
as
it
a
and just
qualifier.
have your scores apply to the
Yes.
Texas Open if you want to participate in the money shoot.
Yes, and they have this. This is the second time they've done the money shoot. Is that correct?
I believe so.
I think
yes.
so.
This year, though, they have the youth division, which is new.
Yes, that is new, and it's a
Last year-
higher pot also.
It's a much
money
higher
pot, yeah.
Yes.
So you'll want to make sure and sign up early for that next year. Get your spot and the time that you want, because it's a really, really cool experience. Like even if you don't place or you don't make it to the money shoot, like just coming out here and meeting the people and having the experience, it's amazing. You learn so much just talking to the other archers and coaches and the judges, making the connections.
So you'll see most archers pulling their targets at this point, especially compound and recurve, to switch out for fresh faces.
Yes.
And that's again just really helpful with the holes. Some tournaments actually will require it.
yes,
at
nationals,
least-
you had to do it every 5 ins.
Yes.
And then like for SIWAT, the Shoot Your Way Across Texas, that's hosted at a lot of local Texas shops. They actually switch. They go from top to bottom at the half. So like if you're shooting on the top first, then you switch and you shoot the bottom. And Vegas does the same thing because they're both
Run
in a
by.
national field.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's pretty neat.
And this
to
is
see.
when you'll have a lot of archers kind of step back and kind of evaluate how their first round went.
Yeah, you see a lot of kiddos going to their parents, chatting out.
Showing target faces.
Yeah, it's really neat
Because
to like
for
keep
the
those.
Joad pins and the Olympian pins, they are based off of a round. So that is the half of the tournament. That's where we are at right now. We've just finished the first round, which is 10 ins. And that is where your ranking
Yes,
pins come
that
from.
is.
So you could be halfway through the tournament and have earned the next level pin or the next level Olympian pin.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you don't make it, you have another half.
Right.
So
Let's
that's
see
nice
there.
because you can compete. You're competing in the tournament, but then you can also be competing against
yourself,
for
yeah.
those ranking pins.
Let's see how those scores are going. I don't know if they've inputted them yet. They're pretty
I
quick.
know the recurve has inputted
Yes,
them
they
because they've been
have.
chilled off for a little bit now.
So we have 267, 265. Those are from yesterday.
Yeah, so the compound has
289,
inputted
wow,
all
very
of theirs.
279, 188. So a lot of times the barebow scores will be lower, and that does not mean that they are less of an archer. It's just because the bow type that they have. Because compound, you have the stabilizers, the sight. The bow itself is more forgiving. Barebow, it's a bare bow, so you have to really be on your game. Your form, your mental process has to be on. So just because their scores are lower does not mean they're any less of an archer. It's just different, And
Yeah, like
recurve-
at Vegas, you had the compounders. It was like the top
like the men, it
almost
was like the
30
top
guys.
40 men
Was it
had
40?
perfect 900s.
Had perfect 900s, and that is using the bigger 10 ring, the recurve or the Vegas
Yes,
ring.
and they shoot half a tournament.
But you did not
every
have
day.
a single barebow archer have
No.
that perfect round. And
No.
so you can be at the same level of archer, but your equipment is just a lot. You have a lot more advantages equipment-wise of shooting recurve and compound, which then, on the other hand, does not mean that it is easier to shoot
No.
those because everyone else has those same advantages.
Yes.
So we've
It's
had
not
lots
cheating.
of people tell
Truly,
us.
it's not cheating. I promise.
Yes, we've had lots of people tell us that it's cheating to
Yes.
shoot.
You have an optic in your sight? That's totally cheating.
Yes, but
No.
everyone else that you're shooting with
Yes.
does. So it's the same playing field for all the archers.
And the judges are so good about like making sure that someone doesn't have the advantage over someone else. They try and keep it very, very fair because, everyone wants to.
And
have
that's
a
why
fair
you do
shooting.
equipment checks
Yeah.
before the tournaments, just to make sure, because some people, it may not be vicious. And
Right, they
maybe
just don't
didn't know what was and was not allowed. So
Yeah, and like sometimes like for National Field, they allow 27 diameter arrows, and USA Archery doesn't. So if you were not aware, you wouldn't know. So that's why it's helpful to have the judges saying, hey, this arrow doesn't work for this tournament, so you're gonna have to switch it out. And that's really helpful. Or like, hey, this weight, it sticks out too far on a bare bow. Okay, thanks for letting me know, So they're really great about that. And they're like so nice about it too. They're not like, oh my goodness, you did this. No. They're like super chill, like, hey, like, can we help you with that? Or so for USA Archery, you have to have your initials on your arrows, on the shaft of your arrow. So if you don't have it, most of the time they'll actually have a pin and they'll be like, okay, so here's where you're going to put it. And they're like super helpful, especially for newbies. Like if you don't know, you just ask them and they're like, okay, here's what we got. And then like sometimes they'll check back in on you and it's so nice.
yep.
All those new targets up, they always look so nice when they're up there. They got them really straight. That's always like, I always accidentally put up
Ellie
my
always
target
has
crooked.
trouble with crooked targets.
Yeah,
She'll
so
put it
I
up
try
and
really hard.
walk
just
back to the
admire
line
everyone
and look
else's.
down and go, that right side is an inch higher than the left side.
Oh yeah, I love their walls. Like, look at that wood. That's amazing. I just really, really like that. There's everyone waiting. There's more shirts.
There
you
are.
haven't
They
gotten a
actually
shirt,
have
you need to get
several
one.
sale shirts in
Look
the
at
main
there's
shop
all their
today.
arrows. Oh, look up there. They have their everyone who is on the U.S. team, which is really amazing. Like, it is not
Yeah, I
an
think
easy
Texas
feat.
Archery has 4
I think
USA
so.
jerseys up there. There's 3 visible, and then there's 1 on that wall
And a red
on
team
the other side
on
of
the wall as
Matthews.
well. Yeah.
So those are not, you'll see a lot of jerseys that have USA on them. That does not necessarily mean that that archer is on the USA team. So those jerseys that we just saw where they have that specific USA across the back with their red, white, and blue stars across the jersey, those are the official Team USA uniforms. So if you
Yes.
see one of those jerseys, that
You
archer
should
knows
go up
what
and
they're
talk
doing.
to them and
You
find
should go
out.
up and talk to that archer, yes.
Yeah, and that's really helpful too. Like a lot of times we'll reach out to some of the pro archers and like like maybe you have a specific question or like maybe you just want to encourage them, and that's like just so amazing to reach out and be like, hey, I've been watching you and you're a real inspiration to me, or like,
And
hey, I
so
have a
many
question.
of them are so great
Oh, yeah.
at encouraging the next group of archers coming up because they were once
Yeah, just
where those
you
archers are.
Yeah.
They were once, looking up to the pros and be like, oh my goodness, look at that. Like you have,
Oh, lots of people buying shirts.
yep, Amy and Molly are busy up there.
Yes.
But so it's great how those archers just really support
Oh, yeah.
the archery community and support the kids and young adults and older adults who are
Yeah.
getting into it. Like we've reached out to several. We now shoot dart and bows,
Yes.
and
We
Ellie
love
has
them.
reached out to Tanya several times.
Tanya and Danielle Lutz, yes. Tanya Gillian and then Danielle Lutz, yeah. They've been really helpful. But really all of them, like Toya Ellison and Paige Pierce, like they all I just message them on Instagram and I'll be like, hey, I have a question. When you have time,
And most of
Send
them
me an
will
answer
get
if
back
you
with
have
you
it.
if you have time. If they don't respond, they do
Yeah,
stay
they have
very
lives,
busy.
So, but yeah, everyone that I've pretty much everyone that I've ever met in archery is like just super encouraging and nice. Looks like
The
recurve's about to
recurve
start
looks
back.
like they're about to start back up.
Maybe. So those are those stands we were talking
Or
about.
maybe not,
How
because
she
now they're
just
putting
set
her
hers
bows back
Oh,
down.
Yep. I love the way they look. Like it looks like flowers to me, just like standing up in a field
With the stabilizers
Yes.
pointed up. Yep.
Yeah. So that blue line out there, that is the drop arrow line. So if you accidentally, like you go to knock an arrow, right? And you accidentally fumble a little and you drop the arrow. So if it doesn't go past that blue line, you can actually reshoot because it's not considered a shot arrow. So
That is right.
that's really
and it's
nice.
the whole arrow has to be past
Yes.
that line.
So like
for it
even
to
if
be a
your
shot
tip is
arrow.
passed, hello, Joey came to say hi. Even if your tip passes, it doesn't matter. It has to be the whole arrow. So like maybe something happens and you accidentally catch your string on a piece of clothing or on your quiver and it bounces your arrow off, but it doesn't go all the way past. You can still shoot it. It does not count as a miss, which is really helpful because you want to make sure you get all those arrows on the target as much as possible. Sometimes
Especially
it's
like
not.
if you forget to reset your release.
Oh,
or
yeah.
if your fingers slip and that
Oh,
arrow
yes.
just slides right out. You don't want that to be a shot arrow.
Yeah, so it's really neat to see all the different nuances of archery. There's so many little things to like learn about and you hear about and you're like, what? I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, there's a lot to learn, but it's all like, it's just
And
so
actually,
neat.
if you're looking to learn more about archery, Scott and Wendy actually have
Yes, they do.
Raising an Archer,
It's
their
right behind us.
podcast.
Yes.
You can see the name up in the corner of the screen. And they do a lot of podcasts on really informative.
Oh, yeah.
They've
They're really
interviewed
helpful.
coaches, archers, parents.
They talk about
Giving you
different-
information about different major tournaments.
Yes.
Before we went to Vegas, we listened to their Vegas one, and it had a lot of information that really helped us prep for that.
Yeah.
And just some general archery knowledge, advice, tips, whether it's tournament etiquette or practice schedules.
Like they had one, they talked about the differences between outdoor and indoor and like what that switch is like. And that's really helpful to know, maybe you didn't think about the different diameter of arrows. They talk about what's allowed where, and it's really helpful.
It
Raising
is,
Archers is a
and
great
they are
tool.
on all major podcast platforms.
Yes. Yes.
So if you're looking at learning more about archery,
And
definitely
Instagram,
go check that
Facebook.
out. They have an Instagram and a Facebook page. And yeah, they're on all major streaming platforms. So
Definitely check them out. All right.
So we'll have a few more minutes and then they'll get going again. So let's see. We also have some music up here.
Yeah, let's try that.
Got lots of different.
I like this one. It sounds very energizing.
No time to worry about the past. Await the future to come at last. This time tomorrow, I will be gone. A fading memory, forever worn. I wanna wake up without sorrow. I wanna step out in a world that's brighter.
So it looks like our recurve line is starting back up. I'll show y'all in just a minute. They are back from their half. Hopefully they've had a good snack. It's like one of the best parts of archery. If you ever notice, like if you talk to an archer, they a lot of archers after the tournament they'll go out and get like ice cream or something, and it's like an archery thing, which is really amazing.
It is an archery thing.
Yeah.
Like to just go, because it's like whether you shot great, whether you could have had a lot of improvement, having that ice cream is really fun.
It is.
Do you lie awake at night? Are you afraid to turn out the lights? Is there something you're scared of? What's there out in the dark? Make sure to keep all your windows locked. Do you surrender? You try to stay awake. These walls you can't escape. Here's one for the lonely hearts, for the ones that fear the dark. You better run out of here.
So y'all got to hear a little bit of a different music. You should tell us which ones y'all like. Way we can put on your favorites. So the recurve are back.
Compounders still in their halftime break.
Yes, they are. It looks like they may be getting. I'm not sure. Maybe they're just chilling out.
They're still just chilling, yeah.
I did not know about the rips. I forgot about that. That was really
The
interesting.
ripped jeans, yep.
Yes. I always forget about that. Yep. Everyone's getting back in their stance, getting revamped. So these are not practice ins. So these
Right,
go
you
straight
don't
to
get
scoring.
practice ins after this first half. Because the
Right.
idea is that you're already sighted in. That's really what the practice ins
Yeah.
are kind of for,
Get
to let you
warmed
get
up.
warmed up, sighted in. So the idea is at halftime you're still warmed up, you're still sighted in, so you can just jump directly into those scoring rounds.
Yeah, because sometimes, so like at nationals this past weekend, we had we take off our sights when we close up and everything, and I was putting it all back together, but I did not make sure that my scope screw was tightened. So I get up there for the first practice end, and like my arrows are going all over the place, like left, right, up, down. I was like, what is the deal? And I was like, oh, I totally forgot to tighten my screw. So it's really helpful to have practice in. That was at the very beginning, so thankfully it was not a scoring in, but that's really helpful to make sure all your equipment is tight, because sometimes like you shoot the first shot and something rattles and you're like, what is that? So all
So
right.
the compound and barrel range are getting ready to get back into it. So
I'll let y'all look at them for a while.
recurvers are they're finishing up their first end.
All right, so we'll let y'all listen to that awesome music again. Let's see if we can get it on there. What's this one like? Oh, that's very cool. All right, we'll try that one.
Do you lie awake at night? Are you afraid to turn out the lights? Is there something you're scared of? What's there out in the dark? Make sure to keep all your windows locked. Do you surrender? You try to stay awake. These walls you can't escape. Here's one for the lonely hearts, for the ones that fear the dark. You better run out of here. Bet you can't look the other way. Here's one for the broken road. That's the only one you know. You better run out, truth or dare. Get me out, take me anywhere but here. Oh, anywhere but here. Oh, anywhere but here. Oh, anywhere but here. Anywhere but here. Do you lie awake at night? Are you afraid to turn out the lights? Is there something you're scared of? What's there out in the dark? Make sure to keep all your windows locked. Do you surrender? You try to stay awake. These walls you can't escape. Here's one for the lonely hearts, for the ones that fear the dark. You better run out of here. Bet you can't look the other way. Here's one for the broken road. That's the only one you know. You better run out, truth or dare. Get me out, take me anywhere but here. Oh, anywhere but here. Wanting something good to come, waiting for things to run away from. Are you just hiding? Yeah, walking into the fire, talking like you never die, like you're immortal. You try to stay awake. These walls you can't escape. Here's one for the lonely hearts, for the ones that fear the dark. You better run out of here. Bet you can't look the other way. Here's one for the broken road. That's the only one you know. You better run out, truth or dare. Get me out, take me anywhere but here. Here's one for the lonely hearts, for the ones that fear the dark. You better run out of here. Bet you can't look the other way. Here's one for the broken road. That's the only one you know. You better run out, truth or dare. Get me out, take me anywhere but here. Oh, anywhere but here. Oh, anywhere but here. one for the lonely hearts, for the ones that fear the dark. You better run out of here. Bet you can't look the other way. Here's one for the broken road. That's the only one you know. You better run out, truth or dare. Get me out, take me anywhere but here. Oh, anywhere but here. Oh, anywhere but here. Oh, anywhere but here. Anywhere but here. Do you lie awake at night? Are you afraid to turn out the lights? Is there something you're scared of? What's there out in the dark? Make sure to keep all your windows locked. Do you surrender? You try to stay awake. These walls you can't escape. Here's one for the lonely hearts, for the ones that fear the dark. You better run out of here. Bet you can't look the other way. Here's one for the broken road. That's the only one you know. You better run out, truth or dare. Get me out, take me anywhere but here. Oh, anywhere but here. Wanting something good to come, waiting for things to run away from. Are you just hiding? Yeah, walking into the fire, talking like you never die, like you're immortal. You try to stay awake. These walls you can't escape. Here's one for the lonely hearts, for the ones that fear the dark. You better run out of here. Bet you can't look the other way. Here's one for the broken road. That's the only one you know. You better run out, truth or dare. Get me out, take me anywhere but here. Here's one for the lonely hearts, for the ones that fear the dark. You better run out of here. Bet you can't look the other way. Here's one for the broken road. That's the only one you know. You better run out, truth or dare. Get me out, take me anywhere but here. Oh, anywhere but here. Oh, anywhere but here. Oh, anywhere but here. Anywhere but here. Do you lie awake at night? Are you afraid to turn out the lights? Is there something you're scared of? What's there out in the dark? Make sure to keep all your windows locked. Do you surrender? You try to stay awake. These walls you can't escape. Here's one for the lonely hearts, for the ones that fear the dark. You better run out of here. Bet you can't look the other way. Here's one for the broken road. That's the only one you know. You better run out, truth or dare. Get me out, take me anywhere but here. Oh, anywhere but here.
Hey, so we are back looking at the recurve. Someone had asked, yes, this is, it's technically 18 meters, so it's about a foot in front of 20 yards, but it's pretty close. So it's about 20 yards. So I think everyone is shooting 18 today.
Yes.
No 9 meters.
Both
but
ranges are well into their
yeah, let's
second
see
half.
how far we are. We're going to check the eyes on score. If you haven't checked that, go ahead and pop over there.
It's just eyesonscore.com, and you can click on live score up there on the top right, and it will immediately take you to all the tournaments live today using their program. So today I think it's just state that's kind
Yep.
of dominating everything this weekend. So once you click there, it'll take you
there may
all
be
to
another
the
sidewalk.
divisions.
I'm not sure. It looks like compound is on there first. So this will be in. They just finished scoring, so this will be the second scoring end. And then recurve looks like they're the same. I think.
So compound just scored their second in, so they'll be going into their third.
Yes.
And
Oh, just kidding. Recurve looks like they just scored their second. So they're going to their third. So they're one ahead again.
Yes.
Looks like. Okay. Very neat. Yes, so
Yep.
make sure you go on Eyes on Scores.
Well, they're a half end ahead because compound just finished scoring their second, and recurve is actively shooting their second.
Okay.
So
They're, yeah,
pretty close.
pretty close. Yes, but the neat thing about this is that you can actually, if you have your own range, you can actually register your club, and then you can use it for all of your shoots. So
For pin shoots,
yeah, pin shoots. That's
club
true.
shoots, if you have a club in your area.
Yeah, that's very nice. It's very convenient too, because like it's all in one. You got registration, scoring, everything, ranking. Back to our recurvers and their beautiful bows. The recurves always just look way fancy.
They look very elegant when they shoot.
They do, right? I know. And this is the only bow currently in the Olympics, but there
That's
has been a
right.
bid.
There is a
for
bid to add
2028.
compound indoor. So right now in the Olympics, recurve shoots outdoors.
Yes.
So they shoot at 70 meters using the Olympic recurve bows, and that is the only archery division in the Olympics currently. Although they did just add the gaming archery.
Yeah, I saw the archery
to the
or something.
esports of the Olympics. I did
Never
not know
know.
that was a thing. But yes, there is an esports archery division in the Olympics this year.
Now you
So
know.
that'll be interesting.
Yes, but
and
there
there
is
has been a bid
yes.
for compound indoors to be added to the 2028 Los Angeles, I believe is where it is.
Yes, it's
going to
in
be.
America. Very
So
amazing
we
if
will
it gets
see.
added.
They said they should hope to hear an answer by the end of next year.
Yeah, 2024.
Because
So,
people will have to start training by then.
That's right. Gotta start the
So-
qualifiers. They do have, I think Bareboat just got added to
The
World.
World.
Yes.
Yep.
So
That's
any of
fairly
these
new.
bows can go to Worlds. They can also go to USAT, which is the USA team. That's the qualifiers over the summer. So you can do that as well. Red team, which is
The youth division regional
elite.
elite development
yes.
team.
They just added barebow as well. So you no longer have to just be compound or recurve. You can also be barebow. So we have a letdown there. A letdown could be a couple different things. Maybe your shot's not going off how you want it. Maybe you held it too long. Maybe you just feel like it's
things
not
didn't
that
line
great.
Up quite right.
So
It is
you just
always a good idea to
Yeah.
let down if you
It's
have
always
enough time
good.
on the clock.
So you just let down, start over, no problem. Draw back again. As long as you have enough time on the clock. And a lot of it sounds like it's really fast, like you don't have enough time, but
You have
you have 2 minutes. You should have 2 minutes here.
yes.
Yeah. So it's and like each
120
shot, like it only takes a few seconds. So it's like maybe maybe
The
10
setup for the
seconds.
shot takes way longer than the actual
Yes,
shot.
like the holding of the shot, you hold for like
And that's
4,
one of the
6,
reasons that
10.
compounder will typically be on the line longer because they
Yes.
have they're knocking their arrows, they're hooking their release aids, they're then kind of like resettling everything.
Yes, compound and recurve
Um,
definitely take longer than barebow just because of how the bows are set up. And then compound generally holds longer, like we talked about earlier. So if you're just now joining us, this is the compound and barebow range. This is usually Texas Archery's 3D range. And then in the other room they're actually pulling right now, so there's not much to see, but our recurves and one traditional longbow are shooting in there. So
So what you're seeing here is mostly compound, and then over by the big American flag, there's about 5 to 7 barebow archers
yes.
per line. It's cool to see those arrows fly across the screen.
Yeah,
they're
that
up
is
there
really
for
neat.
such a short amount of time.
Yeah, we were talking last night. We were talking about how fast the arrows fly, and it's like crazy. So that gentleman right there, he actually has his stand on the bottom of his bow.
That is something you will not usually see
Yeah,
on
that's kind of a
target
rarity.
archers.
Although he is shooting fixed pin, so a lot of the target archers will take off their stands because they want to eliminate any wobble,
It
anything
can
that's
also
not
add to the
consistent.
vibration of
Yes,
the shot.
you want to have the least vibrations possible. That's why you have the stabilizer. It kind of evens out your vibrations.
And you'll see some archers have what look like little rubber
Yeah, squishy
pieces
parts.
on their bow.
I think some of
That
these
is-
recurves have them on there, on the ends. Yeah,
Yeah,
she
on the
does.
ends
On
of
that
their-
yellow bow. I think it's yellow anyway. She has a little piece on hers when she turned it. You could
And
see
that's
it.
all to help absorb that vibration.
Yes, they're called dampeners. You can kind of see it a little bit. You can
The
see-
recurve range looks a little dark from this angle. It's actually pretty well lit.
I really like the
Um,
lighting in there.
The lighting just good because you're shooting in there
I know.
this
I shoot in
afternoon.
there this afternoon. It's a little bit dark, but I prefer to shoot in darker ranges because it makes me focus less on my dot. Oh, actually, I just changed out, so I'm shooting a ring. This will be like my
This will be your
fourth
first
day.
tournament. And
Yeah, shooting the ring. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so I actually prefer a slightly darker target because it makes me. I kind of like overthink sometimes.
And
So-
over aiming is a real thing
Yes, it
in archery,
is.
which you wouldn't think necessarily because it is partially an aiming sport.
Yeah, but not like
But
rifle.
when you spend a lot of time aiming at the target, your shot will eventually break down. You'll lose that stability. You'll lose that perfect. When you're shooting, there's almost like a golden zone of
Yeah.
where you come to full draw, you settle in your anchor, and that sight just floats towards the center. And you really have a pretty short amount of time to get your shot off
Yeah.
when you have that sweet spot. So if you're hyper aiming, trying to get it absolutely perfect, it can actually break down your shot more, and you would end up with a poorer scored arrow
Right.
than had you really slightly earlier.
Well, and also you may be tensing to get that just right. Like you want to get it perfectly because your sight will never settle down completely. So it
Yeah.
kind of just moves, and that's what the stabilizer weights that we talked about earlier. You can see on that second recurve, you can see the weights on their bow right there.
So the more weights you have on your bow, the heavier it will be, obviously. And so the slower your pin will move.
Yes,
so
to a certain point.
a lighter bow will be more of quick, fluttery
Yes.
movements, and a heavier bow will be more of a slow, sweeping
Yes.
movement.
So as heavy as you want it, that you're able to still hold it up. You don't want to be so heavy that your arm's like dropping as soon. Like a lot of these recurves, it looks like their bow like drops, right? But they're actually holding their arm out to let that bow go, so they're not dropping their whole arm, which helps their arrow to have good clearance because you want to make sure that bow is out of the way. That arrow is out of the way before you drop your arm. So that's why they leave that arm up and then they drop their bow. So,
There is a cool angle. Texas Archery has so many good cameras.
yeah, Texas Archery is the best. They got so Shrewd up
So
there
we'll
with the
see a-
Matthews is the stabilizer brand. They also have
And over on
Those are
Target
such.
8, there's currently a judge
Oh, there
call
is, yeah.
going on. So you'll see he leans and looks at that arrow from like 1 to 3 different angles, and then he will make a call on what he thinks it is, and that is the final call
yes.
of that arrow. You can petition it if you think there was bias or something going on, but typically what the judge calls the arrow, that is what
Yes.
the arrow is.
And you also don't really talk about like whose arrow it is because you want it to be as,
That's a good point. So when you have a line call, you or a disagreement on your target, like if one person's like, "Hey, I think this is an 8. Hey, I think it's a 9," because every one of those points does matter in archery.
Yes.
So when you have a dispute on your target butt, or you're just not sure what the arrow is, you'll step back and call the judge.
After you scored all the
After
other
you have
arrows.
scored all the other arrows
Yes.
on your target, when the judge comes over, you will tell him, "Hi, we need a call on target A, third arrow," and then he will call it. So you don't want to tell the judge necessarily whose arrow it is, and you don't necessarily
Want to tell them what your
want to
opinion
tell him
is
what
of
you
it.
think it is.
Right.
Because those are just things to put thoughts in. Not that any judge would purposely cheat the system.
Oh, no, they're
ever.
really good about
They're
that.
great judges. It's just so that no one can come back and say, "Oh, well, he called it out because he didn't like me."
Right. So
So just knowing, keeping that level of
honesty and yeah.
anonymity of like, you don't know whose arrow it is, so you're just calling the straight up arrow.
Right.
There's no bias. There's no, you're not planting thoughts in their heads of, "Oh, I think it's a 9. Oh, I think it's a 10.
And also, like Scott and Wendy both have kids, and Laura, they all have kids that shoot. So they're not allowed to judge their own kids' arrows,
That is a good
which
point.
totally makes sense, because someone could say, well, they just gave them the extra point because. So no,
Yep.
they
so it's
are
not as
really
much
good about
what
that.
the judge would do. It would be more about who can come back
Exactly.
and say,
Yeah,
cry foul.
because like all these judges are amazing. So. See, Lydia's got that nice swoop back. She releases and touches her ear. That's really nice. It's what you want to see using that back muscle just because it's a bigger muscle, so it's more consistent. You're squeezing the same part. It's not a bunch of little muscles that you're squeezing. So,
Yep. So
yeah,
when she releases
there,
her
that's really
bow,
good.
it rocks back and forth in her hand, and that means her grip is nice and relaxed on her bow.
Mm-hmm.
And like Ellie was saying, her release arm comes all the way back behind her neck, and that is just saying that she has those back muscles engaged.
Yes.
Because the idea is, if you have a bigger muscle, you want to use it, because littler muscles, they're just smaller, so they'll have a little more wobble in them.
Maybe
they'll
using
have a
slightly
little less
different muscles.
consistent.
Yeah. All the little fine tunings of archery. So many nuances that you don't really know until you get into it, and you're like, wow, there's so much to learn. And that's why it's great talking to other archers and coaches and like just, seeing how, like, especially like archers who've been shooting for a long time and they shoot high scores and they're consistent. Those are the people you want to, go up and just say hey and, pick their brain about a question that you have, or, just getting to know them, because all the archers that I've met are super supportive. So it's
And if
not
you're
like they're going to
shooting
tear
for
you
a
down or
long
anything.
time, I mean, those are the archers you're going to be shooting with for
That's
the
right.
next 10, 15, 20 years,
They're gonna
which
be
is
your
kind
best
of
buds.
mind-boggling.
Right? I know. That's so crazy. It's not like you age out of archery. You just switch
Nope.
divisions, switch age divisions. And you have some people who shoot 2 different types of bows.
That's right. You are allowed, if you register them, you may shoot. We had
Yeah, so like at
someone
nationals.
at nationals.
Yeah,
who
Stefan shot recurve, Olympic recurve, and he shot fixed pin compounds. So,
So you just register for 2 different times.
yep.
And you will shoot
Well, like
2
Dakota,
full tournaments.
he's doing the same
That's
thing.
right.
He
Dakota
shot
is shooting
compound
compound last night
and then
and
bare bow this afternoon.
bare bow this afternoon.
Yeah, so kind of, gives you a little variety, gets you kind of play around with it, see which one you like better. Maybe you like both, and you're like, hey, this is my competition and this is my relax. So,
Or if you're coaching, kind of having a feel like we both shoot compound,
Yes.
but we have a lot of bare bow kids that we shoot.
we
So
coach. We do not
we
shoot kids.
coach. I apologize. Yes, so we shoot the bows, we coach the kids.
Yes,
Um,
just to clarify.
And we have a lot of bare bow kids that we coach. So having
Yes.
that feel of, we know what the bare bow feels like. We know some of the nuances of do this, do that, try this, try that, is really helpful when you
Oh,
go
yeah.
to coach, because you know what your suggestion is going to
Right. So
result
like Emmy
in.
and I, we both shoot bare bow for fun. Like, maybe we have a day and we've shot a lot of compound and we're like, okay, I need something
Yeah.
to relax. So
Or we'll
we're gonna
have
shoot
friends
bare bow.
over to have
Yeah.
like just a for fun shoot. Or we do some shoot to support tournaments at our range where
Yes.
we raise items or funds for certain organizations or demographics, and we'll sometimes pull out beer bows and
Yeah,
just shoot
just
with
because
friends.
it's just fun and relaxing. And that's like archery is what you make of it. Like if you really want to go and you want to compete, go for it. If you just want to shoot it fun, you come to the range and you use their equipment, or maybe you have your own equipment, but you don't want to compete, that's fine too. Or maybe you just want to do local shoots, or maybe you want to go and be on the world stage. It's really whatever you make of it. That's the great thing about archery. It's super customizable. And plus, you get to pick your own bow color, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of colorful recurves out there
I
today. I
know,
saw some
right?
yellows and
Last night, it
silvers.
was like all the same color. And today, it's like,
The color purple is emerging in archery a lot
Right?
more. We got our first target bows in 2000.
it was 2020? I think it was
I think
2020.
it was 2020. Yeah, because it was
Yeah, because it was or
this
maybe like the end of
right
2019.
during COVID-ish.
Yeah.
And they were purple, and we had everybody commenting like, "Y'all
nobody
have
had purple
bows." And now we stayed
there's-
with purple
well,
bows.
PSE
but
came out
now
with a really
PSE
pretty
has purple
bow.
bows. Hoyt
Darton.
has some recurve purple bows.
Oh, really?
Darton
Wow.
has purple bows.
I saw
That's what that
Purple
one is
Elite
down
last
there.
night. No, at Nationals last weekend.
Yep, purple is emerging.
It is.
White too.
Yeah,
There's
white's
been a
becoming
lot
really
of
popular.
white risers lately.
I have to say, the pink champagne, I really like that. It should be the next popular color, in my opinion. Everybody's walking back from scoring. Some people are still finishing up.
So the camera angles are a little bit different at these two ranges because the compound and bare bows are in the 3D range. It is bigger.
It's
and
taller
it has
ceilings.
more. So this is the range that they will be doing the stage shoot-offs in
Yes.
tomorrow.
This is where it's at.
This is where the spotlights and stages and
Definitely
dun,
want
dun
to
music
tune
will
on
be.
for that. That will be really, really
they'll
neat
be starting
experience.
at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Well, they start tonight for the youth.
Well, right.
But
yes,
yes.
the youth is tonight.
Yes,
the
they
adults.
start shooting at 8 tomorrow morning.
And then the final championship ones will be tomorrow afternoon.
Yes.
Depending on time, on how long everything takes. So there's another judge call going on target 7
Lots of liners today, huh?
and one on target 8. It
Wow.
looks like.
Yep, looks like it. Those top targets, those 3 spots.
So the judges get 2 angles that they can look at the arrow. They can use a flashlight. Sean's using a flashlight down there.
And a magnifying
They can
glass.
use a magnifying glass.
If you've ever seen Wendy do it, she's really proud about how she puts up her magnifying glass. It's really funny. She like pops out. She's like, "Look at this! It's so neat." It's great. I love it.
Sometimes
when
we
they're
had
proud
a
of it.
judge who had to actually pull one of the other scored arrows
Yes,
at A&M.
that's why they all have to be
because
scored
he
before.
could not get in to see it.
Yeah, and that's hard too, because there's only so much space, especially when you have targets close together. Like Texas archery is really good at having it nice and spaced out. And, you're not really cramped. But sometimes at some tournaments, it's like super close. Like Vegas is like really close together.
Yes.
So like some of those, it's really hard to see those angles.
And you just kind of got to go with what
Floats your goat?
well, no, what the arrow is, but you just kind of got to go with what your best judgment call is of that arrow.
I meant pulling the arrow out.
So, like,
or
he
not.
is pulling that target down that he just called the arrow on.
Oh, yep. Zoe's got to switch out her target. She was talking about yesterday on here, if y'all were listening, that Sean always makes her take down her target. So he just wanted to make sure that he stayed true to that. So
Well, and it can be really hard to tell when you
Yeah,
have that
it
target
really
with all
can.
the black holes in it, even if you're tucking your holes.
oh yeah,
It's really tricky. So a judge at any time can ask you to please replace your target for a couple different reasons. If it becomes hard to make judge calls, they will ask you, or if they feel like you have a hole in there that is aiding in your aiming. So if you have a giant hole all over the 10 ring,
yeah.
9 times out of 10, that arrow is going to be much more likely to hit that big black hole because that is where your eyes are drawn to, and your bow is automatically drawn where your eyes are sighting.
Well, and like most tournaments, you're allowed to push your holes back in, except for Lancaster.
That's right.
Lancaster, you're not allowed to push your holes in.
But so a judge
'Cause
could
they
ask
know
you
that.
to replace your target if it's getting hard to make line calls, or if they feel like you have an
Yeah.
hole that is aiding in your aiming and therefore giving you an advantage.
Well, most of the time, it's like for your. I mean, it's for your benefit because they want you to, have a
Have
great
that higher.
experience and have a higher score. So they want to be able to make accurate calls. So it's not just like, I want you to do this because I said. It's like they actually care. So
I love this camera angle because you can see the arrows coming down range, and then you can also really see like
the archers.
what the archers are doing. It's
Yes.
fun to watch the expressions of different archers. So like Julia's getting her binoculars out. You'll see a lot of archers doing that, checking, especially if they think there's something off on their sight.
Yes.
Or just something that they think they might have changed or done inconsistently. They'll pull out their binoculars to kind of see where that first arrow landed and if they need to make any adjustments for the second arrow.
Yes.
Because archery is truly a sport of one arrow at a time.
Oh yeah. You
We
start
had
thinking
somebody
about
a couple
other
weeks ago
ones,
say
and
you
it
don't
goes
shoot
downhill.
60 arrows, you shoot one arrow 60 times.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, it's fun to watch the archer's expressions too, because like you can have an archer who has a really good arrow landing, but did not necessarily have a good shot.
This is very
So you're
true.
looking at an archer who looks like frustrated or, oh, that was such a, that shot needed so much work. And you're looking at it and you're like, but it's in the 10 or it's in the yellow. Like, I don't get it. And then you can also have really good shots where either your sight or your aim or just something beyond your control happened.
Yep.
And you have a really good shot that just had a poor landing.
Well, and like a lot of times in archery, like especially like new archers, they'll be like, "Oh, that was such a bad shot," and like we try and stress a lot in archery. You don't have bad shots; you have shots that just need work because no one is perfect. Oh, that's a really cool camera angle.
That
And
is really
so, maybe something. One of our coaches says it was just a kink in your Wi-Fi, and I was like,
Yes.
I really like that because like we live in the country, so our Wi-Fi is not always that great, and so I was like, I really like that because you're not doing something wrong. Maybe you just forgot something. Like everyone forgets something. It's totally fine.
Or maybe there was something beyond your
your control. Like the guy hitting me on the head at the stabilizer. You
That's
can't
right.
control that. Like Emmy had someone singing to her in another language.
Yes, at Vegas
Yes.
we had they had some music playing while you were shooting, which a lot of tournaments will do, and I really like that. And I had a young lady from Mexico standing next to me, and it was one of her favorite songs, but she was used to listening to it in Spanish. So on one ear, I was hearing the English lyrics coming out of the speaker, and on the other ear, I was hearing the Spanish lyrics while we were on the line shooting.
Yep. So you never know. So it's not a bad arrow. It just needs work. That's totally fine. Everything is a work in progress. So
So this is the angle where you can really see like the alignment of some of these
Yeah.
archers. You'll see some of them, it's like their bow wrist and their elbow are at a perfect, you can draw a line through it. And some of them, their shoulders will be in that straight line, and others will make more of a triangle
yes.
through their body. That's more commonly seen on compound dudes, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like too, because I don't know, like compound in general is just less of a straight. A lot of people don't like the straight across. They move away from some of the NTS, the National Training System. But I feel like it's
But then
actually
you'll
coming
see
back in
other
compound a lot.
compounders who really
Yeah.
stress that alignment. So that just kind of depends on your coaching philosophy
Yep.
and also what works for your body. Because some
Yeah.
people, if they have shoulder issues,
Like
they
when
may
I
have to go one way or
yeah,
the other.
when I tried to shoot triangle, I would collapse on my shot. My draw arm would come off my face and go forward because I was using too much of my bicep. So getting into that straighter line helped a lot because your shoulder blades are actually down in socket, so you cannot collapse as easily. Like it's still possible, but it's not as easy. So
And when you're aligned, you're working more with your skeleton in addition
Yes.
to your muscles to get you through that shot.
yeah,
So you'll see a lot of recurvers shoot in alignment. And that's also because they don't have that valley, that poundage let off. When they hit full draw, they are holding their draw weight the entire time. So that's a lot of stress on your muscles and
yeah,
your
it
bones.
really is.
So having it to where your body is working with you instead of having to fight it can be really, really helpful. So the angle here, it looks from this angle like this range is a lot darker. It's really not. The lighting is just more far forward. So on this range, we have the camera sitting up in the stands, kind of. So that area is more dimly lit, but the archers have plenty of light on the range.
Yes, and then there is another range. Their 50-meter range is
Underneath
Oh,
us.
yeah, it's underneath us. It's over to the side. So, so that
That
if
range is
people
open for
want to,
practice
warm up,
today.
they can do that before they shoot. Or maybe if they had a rough arrow or two or three, they want to work something out afterwards, they can do that too.
Especially because if you are a youth shooting today and you qualify for the shoot off, you shoot again tonight.
Yes, so you want to make
So
sure
the
you
youth
got all the
shoot
kinks worked
starts
out.
at
4:30,
4:30 today.
around 4:30.
Yeah, everything
So-
is dependent on what happens the line before.
Right.
But it is aimed to start about 4:30 tonight. So if you are a youth shooting this morning, you will shoot again if you qualify.
Yes. And they will not shoot a full tournament. They are just shooting
That's
those
right.
matches
That is
we
the
talked
5
about.
ends where for barebow and recurve, they get a point per end. And that is not related to the state shoot off.
No.
I'm sorry, the state
The
championship.
state championship.
That
This
is the Texas Open shoot off. So again, we have one score that they're shooting right now that is applicable for the Texas State Tournament and the Texas Open money shoot.
Yes.
So we have our compounders are on.
Yep, they just finished their
They
fifth
just finished
end.
their 5th end, so they are 2/3 of the way through.
And then what is recurve at? I think are they still
Let's
one
check
ahead
on
of us?
Recurve is also on their 5th end. So although they're probably scoring their 6th one, so that hasn't
Yes.
uploaded yet. So they're
So
about
they're
an end ahead.
We're pretty
which
even
is
today.
Pretty even.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last night they were much more.
They were like 3 ends ahead. But there were a lot fewer of them, so
We have a lot of different form styles
yeah, I was
going
gonna
today.
say, look at those feet. They're all so different. So stance is like your the very first step, I guess you would say, onto the line. You get that foundation solid, because like pretty much
And
anything
then
in
this
life, you
what
gotta have a solid foundation.
dictates your whole body alignment. Because
Yes.
whether your hips are settled over your feet, if they're popped off to one side, if your feet are too close together, then your hips will not settle as much. They'll be kind of out of socket. And in archery, we like everything to be settled down because it's a lot harder to move it when it is in that.
Yeah, well, especially if you're shooting outdoor, like in the wind or in the rain, like they don't stop.
Yeah, and if
those
you think of like a
tournaments.
bolt that has a groove, it's a lot easier to keep it in the groove than it's just when it's just on flush wood, because it has that little pocket that
Yeah,
it
like-
gets to sit in.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, something fell. That
That was
happened last night
the
too.
door.
Oh, that's the door. Oh, we
Yes,
thought
we
thought
have
some
a
kid
door
fell.
behind the line that people can come in and out of. That is rather loud if it gets slammed. But more good distraction training.
That's right. It's optimal.
We actually you have fun with the distraction training at home. You'll have
I work
friends.
on that. I get distracted easily, so on certain aspects.
So you have a good friend who will come over and just hang when we shoot. He doesn't shoot.
Yeah, he just chills with us, hangs out, and then he'll just like stare at me, like right in my face. And I'm like, okay, I gotta focus now.
That's helpful though, especially for like
really
the
is.
tournaments. Like if you have a camera in your face, some archers you'll notice. Some archers you will notice will have a very different shot if they know that someone is watching and
Oh,
filming
definitely.
them. Or if they know that they're like in the spotlight, because it's that like hyper awareness kicks in.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, everything that's in your subconscious gets kind of thrown to the wayside, and you're
Well,
like,
and
"Oh my
sometimes
goodness!"
it's not even like you're distracted. Like sometimes I won't be distracted. I'll be over focused on something. You know, like it's really you got to find that balance. Like archery is about
Archery is
finding
a
that
sport
middle
of
ground.
finding the balance.
Yeah.
The balance in your bow, the balance in your form, and the balance in your mental program. Which is also a good, I mean, if you think about clenching your fist, when you try that 100% of the time, you're going to have a lot of tremble and shake going through
You
your
can't keep
forearm and your
100%
friends. You
every-
can't
all
keep
the
it the
time.
whole time. on the opposite end, if you just let it flop around, any little movement is
Yep.
going to react. So you have to find that middle balance in both your muscles, your bow, your mental game, of just really keeping that 80% going.
Yep. And even like, archery is not perfect, right? So like sometimes you get a shot and you just know it's not a good shot. It needs work, as we talked about.
But there's nothing you can
but
do
there's
once
nothing you
you've
can
shot
do.
that
Yeah, so
shot.
you
It
just
is gone.
go back to what you've been doing and you just try it again over and over. And eventually it becomes second nature and you just keep on going.
So we've got a couple of letdowns on the recurve range too.
Yes.
The other reason that recurvers could let down is they have a clicker on their bow.
Yes, they do.
You slide your arrow through it when you knock your arrow, and as you hit your perfect anchor, your arrow pops out the backside of your clicker, and that's when it kind of tells you that it's okay to fire, and then you'll release. So if your clicker either goes off too soon or you can't get it to go off, that could be another reason to
Right.
let down.
So it has to do with how much you're expanding that back shoulder. So maybe you pulled really hard, like really fast, and it just plopped down.
And if you release your arrow before it has come through the clicker, it can actually rip off
the fletching, yeah.
the fletching on your arrow.
Then you gotta have an
And if
extra
you
arrow.
hold it for too long out of your clicker, it can mean you're overexpanded.
Yes.
And that'll kind of throw off your left to right.
Yeah, because in a compound, you draw back, you hit a back wall, you can't pull more. That's it. There's nothing else. You can't go anywhere.
Yep. You start
Recurve-
pulling too hard on the compound, you're gonna
Yeah.
get
You
some,
get some
bend
weird
in
angles.
those strings.
Yeah, but on recurve, you can technically way overpull. So that's definitely not what you go for. So you want to find that your anchor is where you hit your face consistently. So Olympic recurve anchors under their jaw. So you can kind of see
That
right
was
there
a
that
pretty
gentleman.
release.
He's got his hand was underneath his jawbone, and that's where he anchors. That's very consistent. The string will go tip of the nose down through the lips, and then the hand will go on the tip of the jaw.
You'll actually see some recurvers with bandages
I have seen
on
that.
the bottom of their jaw, and some of that is just so they can feel that.
Yep.
Some of it so that they don't get blisters on their face, and then some of it is just so that they have that that feeling.
Yeah.
It's like a kisser button, but on a
Yeah.
So you'll see some compounds will have a little either knot or rubber button tied into their string that they know goes on the corner of their lip, on the edge of their nose, wherever they want it to really. And it's just another point of,
it's a point of reference. Yeah.
to make sure everything's consistent.
Yeah, because your hand could be in the same place, but maybe the string slid over on your nose and it's no longer in the middle. Maybe it's off to the side. Or maybe you usually shoot off to the side and now it's in the middle. So
And
you-
especially with a release aid, you can change your draw length almost an entire inch by where your fingers are on your
how
release.
tight is your hand?
You extend that hand out all the way, and you just got 3 more inches than
Yep.
if you're tied up in a fence.
Well, your hands are really long and pretty, so that's why. But even recurve too, because you want that string down the tip of your fingers. It's kind of like near the crevice, your first knuckle, I guess you would call it.
But not in the crevice.
Right, not in the crevice, just on the other side. So you want to make sure that it's in the same place every time, because if you're fisting, you're grabbing it up like, I'm never going to let it go, that's going to change your anchor versus if you're just on that edge as well. So archery's a lot of like fine tuning, all these little bitty aspects. So it's pretty neat.
Fun to play around with
It
everything
is,
too.
yeah.
I like tinkering on my bow and on
Yeah.
other people's bows. To just kind of find that groove for you, because what works for one person will not necessarily
Yep.
work for another. All of us are different.
All of us are different.
And some of it's
That's right.
obvious differences, like someone who's 6'4" is going to shoot very differently than someone who's 5'5".
Right? Yeah. Very different.
And someone who's, 8 feet tall. I'm sorry, I said the wrong thing.
8 feet. Wow. That's
Someone who's 6 feet
Got a little
tall
Goliath over here.
and, linebacker size is going to shoot a whole lot different.
than a
Then-
tiny little 5-foot person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the compound are headed into their 7th end.
Wow.
They are
picked up the
making
pace.
good
Yeah.
time today.
I'm impressed. Because the next
'Cause
one
we're
doesn't start till noon. So
10:45
we're doing-
and only have
they're
4
doing
more
really,
ends.
really well. Again, Texas Archery runs great tournaments.
They
You guys should
do.
come out. if you haven't been here already, it's a great facility. And it's so relaxed. Like, you go some places and you feel like really tense. But like coming here is just like, it's so chill. Like everyone's so nice.
It is.
There's our bear boers over there. We haven't really talked about them too much. They all setting up. You can see their limbs actually get pulled closer to their bodies, and then when they release, the limbs pop forward back to where they were.
And that's what tells you the draw weight of the bow.
Yes.
How much the limbs bend according to your draw length is going to. So the same bow can have a different draw weight for like Ellie down there. If she was shooting the same size bow as Rick Stonebreaker, it would have a very different draw weight
Yes, it
because
would.
those limbs are not bent
Yeah,
back.
she's not pulling back as far as he is because her arms aren't as long. Because he's
She
pretty
has a
tall.
really nice pre-draw.
We talked about that a little bit earlier. And she actually has a recurve anchor. So she anchors under her chin, whereas like Rick Stonebreaker, he anchors in the corner of his mouth, which is, I guess you would say like typical bear bow.
It's
but
more
it doesn't-
typical bear bow.
Doesn't really matter. That's kind of personal preference.
It also will depend on the poundage of your bow
Yes.
again, because if you have someone with a lighter bow that can't necessarily fly the distance, but they don't want to up their poundage, they can lower their hands on their face. That'll give their arrow more elevation.
Yeah, or they can go to split finger. Bear bows shoot usually 3 fingers under the arrow. Recurves shoot one finger
finger.
above the arrow and 2 below.
And that again is just like angles of
Yeah.
the arrow. So if you have the higher up your fingers are on the string, the higher your arrow is going to hit on the target.
Well, and like recurve, you got to shoot 70 meters outside, so you need
Yep.
all
So
the help
they
to
do
get it down
both
there.
the split finger
And
anchor and
under.
under
Yeah.
the jaw, and that just gives that arrow. It's really pretty to watch from behind. Actually, if you have an archer shooting at that distance or at that angle, just to see that arc of that arrow flying, and you can track the arrow almost all the way down to the target.
Yeah, it's really neat to see.
Especially on the slower bows.
Yeah, that arc is beautiful. That's what we saw earlier. We had that side camera angle, and we could see those arrows flying.
And you'll see some like compound arrows will generally fly a little bit lower because their bows are a lot heavier.
Right, so they're going more straight, less curved, whereas the bear bow has that strong arch sometimes.
The other thing that's really cool to watch if you have a slow motion video of a shooting is the archer's paradox.
Oh, yeah, archer's paradox
and
is
that
really
is
cool.
the flex of the arrow. So arrows don't fly straight. They wiggle all the way down to the target. You can't see it on regular speed normally unless something goes wrong to exaggerate it.
That's
but
really
on
bad.
slow motion, bear bow and recurve arrows will do an up and down wobble where they will, almost like a dolphin,
Yeah.
swim all the way down to the target, and compound will have a side to side bend. And that's, you want that.
Yeah, that's the difference. Like if you hear people talking about arrow spines or splines,
The
slightly
thickness
different.
of the spine.
Yes, the spine is how much it wiggles, and the spline is under poundage. So they have a little scale for that. And they'll actually put weights in the middle to see how that arrow bends and at what point it bends.
That's another fun thing, is balancing it on your finger to find, because there is
Yes.
a point on your arrow where it will perfectly balance the front and the back and just sit perfectly horizontally on your finger. That point is not typically in the middle.
No,
It's typically
because you
more
have weight on your tips. at the very
closer
end.
to your tip, because your tip is a lot heavier.
Yeah. I haven't seen any arrow twirling today. Sometimes you see like an archer, they'll grab their arrows out and they'll do like a little flip. It's like a little
Like a
fun thing.
pre-baton
Yeah.
movement before knocking those arrows.
Right. So we haven't really seen that today. Mostly just straightforward.
The other
it
difference
is
you'll
early,
see
so
on these
was early.
recurvers is they will typically have 2 back bars. They're called V
Yes,
bars.
they will have that.
And that's just to help balance out their bows. So compound is typically heavier on the side with their sight, because
Right.
compound sights weigh more.
Yeah, they're
So they
bigger.
will oftentimes just have one, although you will see V
Yeah.
bars on some compound
Yeah,
setups.
Cat Steagle.
She shot last
She
night.
shot last night. She has
V-bar
it. Cheney
setups.
also
Cheney also
has-
shot last night.
Yeah, Paige Pierce shoots with V bars also. So it's like some people say you don't need it. Some people say it's just for outdoor. It's really personal preference.
Yep, how you can get your bow to balance. But it is almost every recurve setup
Yeah,
I've
every
seen
recurve
will
setup has
have
V bars.
V bars.
And those also have however much weight you need, and they don't have to be the same. So, like, if your right side needs to be heavier than your left to balance your bow, that's totally fine.
Because your bow is not the equal weight on either
Right,
side
'cause
if it's just plain, because
they
you
don't
have
have
your
shoot-through
sight on one
recurve.
side, you don't have shoot through risers. So most bows will have a natural pull to one side.
Yes.
So that's part of what those weights do, is they help offset that natural pull and just kind of give you a more balanced bow. It's really cool because some set like Cat setup, you hold her bow out and it will sit perfectly in your
Yeah.
hand. There's no pull left, right, up or down. And that's really awesome to have a bow that does that.
Well, and
because
it also
then
depends, like, how you grip your bow. You know, because, like, I
Your
may
hand
have a slightly
pressure.
different, you know, your hand's bigger than mine, or mine's, you know, I don't know.
We
It's
had
just
a young
different,
girl
so.
yesterday, no, Thursday. We had a
Thursday.
young girl Thursday shooting at our range who had was putting more pressure on one side of her grip, and when Ellie held her bow, it was off balance, pulling to one side, but she did not notice because that was naturally where
Right, it's
her
how
extra
her
hand
hand
pressure went. So she was shooting a bow that was not necessarily balanced for everybody, but because of where her hand pressure naturally was, it sat balanced
Right.
in her
Well,
hand.
and that's the great thing. Like, you know, you can have someone say, oh, this is the way you have to do it. But really, like, most things in archery is, like, what works for you, you know, to a certain point. I mean, obviously, like, you want to stay in the guidelines so that, you know, you have generally good arrows, you know, good grouping. But a lot of that is just, like, how your body works with the bow and the arrows. And, you know, you see a lot of people, they shoot very differently than others, you know. So you look at some of the pros and they shoot totally different than each other. So it's really neat to see, like, once you really get in there, there's so many different that are just, like, slightly different.
That's one of the great things about the Texas archery coaches too.
Yeah.
Because they're really good at helping you find what works for you.
Yeah, they're like, try this. Does it work? Okay, now we reevaluate, you know. So that's really nice.
having that where coaches don't get offended when you
Yes.
want to try something
Yeah.
new. That's really fun when you have a coach who
And
really
coaches are so
believes in
personal,
helping
too.
you succeed.
Yeah, and like talking about your goals, you know, like maybe this person doesn't want to compete, or maybe this person wants to go and be like, you know, the next
Yep.
top archer or whatever.
Got another line call and
Yeah,
Julia's
we do.
target.
Man, Julia getting those liners. Yeah, but it's good to find a coach that works really well with you, because everyone's different, and they'll have those people that just work really well with them. And so that's really important to find a good coach you have.
That you have confidence
Yeah,
in and who
you
really
connect with.
connects with you.
Yeah.
Especially with communication being so important in archery.
Oh yeah. Well, in
Really
life,
in anything.
Yeah.
But having that where it's like you communicate on the same wavelength
Right.
is really, really helpful. Because like we've had people where like Ellie can communicate with them really well, and I'm like, I have no idea what you just
Right.
said, and vice
All the
versa.
different learning styles and everything.
Yep, that's what's fun with us being able to shoot together too.
Yeah.
because we process things very differently,
Yeah, we're like the same person and totally different at the same time. So.
so we
It's
can
funny.
kind of bounce off ideas off of each other, and we'll do that a lot when we're tweaking our equipment at home.
Yeah.
Just like, let's try this. Oh, this worked for me. Oh, this worked for me.
I trust Emmy with all of my tech stuff. I'm like, here. Back to
Back
the
to the
recurve.
recurvers.
They're keeping a really steady pace.
They are.
They're just going for it.
So there's, we mentioned at the beginning, they don't have a straight shooting line. They have more of a shooting box. So that
Yeah.
red strip of carpet, the 18-meter line is right down the middle of that. So they just stand in the center of it, and
Yep.
that is,
Or off to the side. Doesn't matter. That's personal preference too. Like
well,
if you,
in the center of the
Oh,
red
yeah.
area
Yeah.
is the 18-meter
like some
line.
of the people have their front foot touching that black line, so they make sure they're at the same distance, which is really helpful.
That blue tape on the ground is also going to tell them where their box is. So archers have
Yes.
a box around them that is designated as their shooting space.
Yes.
And that's one of the things, like with the stabilizers, You want to make sure when you have it, you can pretty much put those things at any angle that you want them to, but you want to make sure that it stays in your shooting box so
Right.
that you're not bumping in
And it's
to
generally
other
about
people.
it's generally about 2 feet,
Yeah.
give or take. I don't think anyone really measures it.
Well,
But-
they do when they set up the ranges, but
Yeah, I meant like judges and stuff. That's kind of just like, as long as you're not gonna whack someone,
yep.
you're good.
Just general manners.
Yeah, that's part of the line etiquette too. Like, if you have wide stabilizers, you should wait until the people around you are done shooting, or they're
Before
not
you
at full
step
draw,
off that
so that
line.
you make sure you're not whacking them, because nobody likes a sidebar in their face.
That is most unfortunate.
So this will be the second line coming up.
So recurve is at.
gotta be close.
This is their. Well, maybe that one hasn't loaded yet.
And sometimes it loads at different rates, just because
Depending on how they inputted it.
Yeah.
And what our internet is doing, and what their internet is doing.
Yeah, so you see they kind of come up and then they come down under their jaw and then they release. That's that setting of the shoulder we were talking about earlier. And sometimes you'll see, usually the bows jump out of their hand, right? But sometimes, occasionally, you'll see where it kind of goes off to the side or like they grab it really fast. And some of that is actually they're correcting for where they were aiming. So maybe they were like aiming too low. And so they'll like grab their bow or they'll like put it up a little bit to try and knock that arrow higher. Because your release happens, I think for recurve it's like 0.15 seconds.
Wow.
And then for compound it's 0.1 seconds. So
Wow.
it's literally faster than a blink of an eye for compound, and it's exactly, well, like statistically whatever, blink of an eye for recurve. So it's really fast. So that's what your follow through is when that hand comes out, the hand comes around back to your ear, and then your bow jumps forward. That's part of your follow through, and that's where you can correct most things in your shot if your follow through is accurate.
And if you have a bow that
And
is
if you have,
forgiving.
right, exactly. If everything's working with you and you know
Yep.
your bow, it takes a while to get to know your bow. You got to become friends, just like any relationship.
Yep. So our
So-
bows are still new. We've had them
Yes, it's
almost a month.
about a month.
So we are still
Yeah, I think this week was actually a month.
working out those
Those kinks. Yes, we're supposed to check
really
our.
kinks. Just like,
Well,
you
just the
know, making sure
nuances.
everything is still working for you.
Yeah, we're gonna check
So
our timing this
recurvers
weekend.
just finished their 9th end, so
Oh,
they only
wow.
have one
more
left.
end. Wow. Okay.
And compound and barebow are on
I think they got behind
their
a little bit.
8th end.
Yeah. Okay.
So we got a little bit offset,
I think
but
there's some of those judging calls.
Yes,
Because I guess it just kind of
you
depends.
can have both. Yeah.
Most of the time, you have everyone in
So
like
compound and barebow are walking down to score their 8th end, so they will have 2 more. And,
then recurve will have
recurve is
one.
currently scoring their 9th end, so they will have
Yes.
just 1 more, and then they will be done. And we made really good time today because it's only 11.
yeah. Usually it's usually like 3.5, 4 hours a tournament,
Yep.
depending on how many people you have. But
Right, because if you have 40 archers, it's going to be a lot different of a time than if you have 10.
right, or like 500 versus.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yeah, Nationals last weekend, we shot Friday morning, and it was
Yes.
only half full. So that tournament, we were done in 2.5 hours.
yeah, it was really fast.
It was very
great.
fast. But then Sunday afternoon, we had almost a full line.
And Saturday afternoon, that was the Joe
Yeah,
Ad
Saturday
line. That was
afternoon was a full
and
line.
that was like a good solid
4 hours.
So
Yep.
you can see all the parents back there.
Yeah, it's really nice.
family.
They have the bleachers that you can sit on.
Yes.
And then behind that railing, that's where the T-shirt sales are going on.
And the interview
There's a
booths.
TV screen that has the Eyes on Score on it. There's
Yes.
also some QR codes if you want the direct link to it. And then that glowing box up there is
That's
this interview
us.
booth. But so,
And then
the
have-
chairs on the floor are specifically for the archers.
Yes,
so you
those
don't
are
want your archers
designated.
to have to like try and wriggle around to find seating.
Right.
So most tournaments will have a designated archer only area.
Yes.
Where you can put your water bottle, your jacket, and make sure you have a place to sit and chill if you need to.
And then
in between ends.
that middle box table was the judges' booth. So let's see how everyone's doing.
And
It's
again, all
looking
these scores
good.
are on eyesonscore.com. You click on live score TSAA state.
Yes.
That is Texas
Archery Association.
Archery Association. Texas
Texas
State
State
Archery
Archery
Association. And it is all live, so you will get the results as soon as the archers punch them into their tablets. They are
Yes.
scoring 2 different ways. They have one archer who will have a paper score pad where they handwrite in the scores and hand do the math. And then you will have one electronic scorer, which is how we get these uploaded into Eyes on Score. And at the end, they will turn in their score, both the paper and the electronic, to a judge.
Yes.
The
But-
judge has to check and verify that both are correct. If there's been any errors on the paper, you have to have both the scorer and the archer initial them, just to
Yes.
make sure that it's legit, that nobody can go in and forge and fake a score.
Right, we would not
If
want
there
that.
is a discrepancy, however, between the electronic and the handwriting wins. So you want
Right,
to
it's
make
kinda
sure
weird.
that your paper is accurate. Double check all that math before you turn it in, because if there was a math error, that's happened a couple times
Yeah.
at tournaments. If there was a math error, you get
stays.
the paper score.
Yeah. And Eyes on Score has this fancy thing where you can actually download your scorecard.
Yes,
Because you're
you
not
can
allowed to take
download
the paper ones
actual.
home.
You
so
can take a picture of them.
Yes, you can take a picture.
But if you want to
Um,
have one at home, you can download them from
Yep.
Eyes on Score and then print them out or keep them in a file. It's really fun to keep track of your scores
Oh yeah,
from tournament
you
to
see
tournament.
the growth.
Yep. Or like knowing what happened. Like,
Yeah.
like, okay, this first tournament was really good. The second tournament was a little rocky, but I know what I did there. Some people will make notes on their scorecards or in their journals.
Yeah. Journaling is a big part. Making sure you're, again, just consistent. This is what I did today. This is what I learned. This is what I
Yep.
worked on. This is what I still need to work on. And it's interesting to see, like, different facial expressions. Like, some of these people look really concerned or, like, really mad, but they're not. I mean, maybe they are, but most of the time it's just because they're focused.
There's some focused faces that can be,
Yeah. Misunderstood for concern or anger.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot, It's a lot to think about. It's a lot to remember. And they're trying to just stay in the zone and
there
block
was a
out
little
everything else.
arrow twirl for you.
Oh, yeah? There's a lot of hey dudes today.
So shoes are, and it's not something you don't think about, that are very important in archery. The arch and heel of your shoe can actually impact your stability when you're shooting. Because
Yeah.
if you think about it, if you have a 3-inch lift in your shoes, then your angle of your feet is going to be different than if you're flush on the ground. And so then that's going to change the angle of where your ankles have to be in order to keep you straight.
Yes.
So, little fun fact that not a lot of people think
yeah,
about
so you
is
see
your
a lot
shoes
of
are
like
very
the
important.
flatter, the more flat shoes. But then occasionally you do see someone with a heel because that's just how they feel stable.
Or
Like,
if they need help, like when I was first
Yeah,
learning
that's what I was
to
gonna
lean
say.
slightly forward,
Yeah.
I wore boots with heels so that it would kind of like remind me to lean forward, because
Oh, that's a
otherwise I
steady
would
bow.
feel really funky.
that was smart.
And you'll also see some archers will aim with both eyes open,
Yep, and some
and
will,
some will close an eye.
and some will wear patches.
That is true. The patches are most common if you are cross dominant.
Yes.
Which is where you may have a dominant eye, but your other eye likes to take over occasionally.
it's like it's mine.
And so a lot of times you'll see those patches.
Yeah, or like if you can't, maybe you're cross dominant and you can't close one eye and not
Or
the
if
other.
you have a younger kid who has
Yes.
trouble remembering which eye to aim with, putting that patch on. Some kids love it because it's like, I'm a pirate.
Right. I've seen some
Um,
really cool decorated like googly eye ones.
Yes.
Seen some monsters, some different things. You can watch those
That
stabilizers out
Matthews
there.
is a pretty steady bow.
Yeah, you watch the tips and they move ever so slightly, but they're not like giant movements.
And you'll see some elbows higher and some elbows lower.
Yep.
Like there's a big difference on that gentleman and the young lady.
So like the young lady right there, she has a trigger release with her index finger, whereas the gentleman right behind her has a thumb release or some kind of back tension.
So
It's
if
kind
she
of hard to
draws,
tell. She draws
that's
back.
not a finger release.
It is. Yep. It's
Oh.
it's a 2-finger.
You're right. It is a 2-finger release.
Yeah, it's one of the. It's like a newer style. So he has a single finger.
He has a single finger in the black shirt, so
Yes.
he'll draw back to his anchor and then either slap that trigger with his index finger or wrap his finger around it and pull from his
Right.
back. And that's all personal. If you want to release with your back or if you want to punch, you'll see. It's really interesting because you'll see most archers telling you to release with your back because for most people that is the most consistent way to do it. But then you will see a lot of archers who will punch. And for some, it works for. I mean,
Right?
some of the
James
best
loves
archers in the
punching.
world
He
are
brags on it
very
all the time.
proud of their punching skills.
Yeah, that's all personal. Like, I cannot punch. I've tried. It does not work out well. But other people, they punch and it worked for them. So
Yep.
it looks like our recurve
So
range
they're
may be
headed
done because
down.
Wendy's talking to them right now. So I don't know if there's like makeup arrows or maybe she's just telling them that this is the end. She's like, go
Yep,
grab
so
your
they're
arrows.
going to score their final end. If there's any makeup arrows, they will do that after this.
Yes. So we'll have to wait and see if there's any makeup arrows on
And
either
if
range.
not, then they will double check all of their math and they will be done.
Yep. Got all the parents waiting out, checking on their family members, siblings too. I didn't mean to leave them out.
Yep. And Texas Archery has a really nice shop downstairs.
Oh yeah, they do.
So it will be, they have a whole area with bow tech stations. They have bows, they have arrows, they have
cases
merch.
and targets and yeah,
So
shirts and snacks too.
they do have snacks.
They
yes.
brought up a whole bunch of snacks just for y'all today. Well, this weekend.
And then I believe Compound and Barebow are on.
But they have one more or two.
This will be their 10th end, so they're
Okay,
scoring
so
their
they did-
9th end.
They came up.
Well, the scores from the 9th end are in.
Okay.
So they will just have one more, and then we will be finished.
And then we'll have another
We'll be ready for
line
the
at
12
noon.
o'clock line.
Yep.
That's the one that we're shooting.
Yes. So you have to keep an eye out.
And the live broadcast will keep going
Yes.
all
We'll
day.
switch out.
So
Not sure who.
keep on checking in.
And hopefully we'll get some interviews today. That'll be fun.
Yes.
See
It's
how
fun to interview
everyone's-
different archers about how long they've been shooting for, what got them into archery. Because everyone has a really different story of
Oh, yeah. It's really personal.
why they got into archery.
All right, so they have one more end, so we will let y'all watch them do that.
No time to worry about the past. Await the future to come at last. This time tomorrow, I will be gone. A fading memory, forever worn. I wanna wake up without sorrow. I wanna step out in a world that's brighter. We are the people of tomorrow. We stand together, raise our hands up higher, higher.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Now you've got me. The girls had to run off to get some practice in. Let me scoot back a little bit. We just got one more in left. What that means is that they're going to go ahead and finish up. That's it. We're going to see where the cards fall on a lot of the divisions. There's still about 66 archers to shoot this afternoon. When this thing is done, I'm going to put a list together just so that we know where everybody falls as a combined. Like we were saying earlier, right now is the state championship. Everybody has one time to shoot. Top scored gets state champion. Then second and third will get their awards. Okay. Once that is done, we're going to take all those scores. So if you are let's talk about youth for this evening. So youth recurve, youth compound, youth barebow. So we'll look at recurve. Recurve, everybody U18 and below, male, female, will be combined, top 16, move on to the next round. Then they will shoot off. Once they get to the final 4, we will actually stop it, and then we're going to go ahead and set up for a head-to-head shoot-off that is going to be tonight. This all starts around 5:30, we hope. There's a lot to be done between these. We've tried to make sure, we're trying to be very mindful of our time, but you know how these tournaments go. This evening is going to be a lot of fun. So 4:30 as the shoot-offs start. We'll be up here. Wendy and I will be up here broadcasting live. Once we get to the final 4, like I said, we'll have the gold medal match, the bronze medal match. We'll do bronze medal match first. Then we'll do the silver. For the youth, the top 6 get paid. So depending on where they fall, there's some type of math that will, when you get knocked out in 6th, 5th, and 4th, there's going to be some math in there that figures out where you fall. 4th is easy. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th is easy. It's the 5th and 6th that we have to do some special math to be able to do those 2 positions to pay those out. All right. I'm expecting that we'll be here probably doing live coverage until probably 10 o'clock tonight. So those gold medal matches are going to run late. So just be prepared for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Super exciting. Last end right now. These archers are coming to an end. I'm going to consolidate all of that. So like what I was saying is I will consolidate it, even though there's archers that are still going to be able to shoot. We'll give you an idea of where everybody falls. There's going to be some archers, because of the divisions and where they are, you've already made the top 16, because let's just say there's 20 people in your division, and if 16 of them are shot and there's only 4 left, there's guaranteed that there's the top 12 at that point will be moving on, and those other 4 will be the determining factor on the others. Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed listening to Ellie and Emma. That was Ellie's second time to do it. Emmy's first time to do it. I think they did a great job. Keith, great job. They did a good job. He's shaking his head. Oh yeah, they did a great job. Yeah, good. Really good content. I'll have to go back and listen. We've got 68 spots to shoot. That's 2 ranges, so it's pretty crowded here at Texas Archery. We have this range, and we have the other range. Flip to the other range for us. So we have this other range going. Looks like they're already finished. They're closing up shop there. This afternoon will be a lot more archers. That range is going to be full. All 8 bales are going to be taken. 10 to 17 will be full, and we'll have it. Couple things to mention. Eyes on Score. If you go to eyesonscore.com, you'll be able to see exactly where everybody falls. See live scoring. You'll see exactly what's happening after each end. Also, if you want to listen to some cool podcasts that are about youth archery and any type of tournament that's coming up, it's called Raising an Archer. It's on Apple, Spotify. It's on Audible. The other thing is you have hold on, I'm getting called.
You just want the gold, and there's no way I can beat it, 'cause I got no chance when it comes to her. She got the glitter and the fame, and I just wasn't enough for you.
Man, I can't get away from anything. I try to sneak up here to do live coverage with you guys, and I still people calling me, but that's okay. This is over 180 archers. We're giving away over $12,000 in cash. We're also giving away $4,000 worth of scholarships. a lot of fun. A lot's going on, and a lot of fun's going on here at Texas Archery. If you want to check out Texas Archery, come check it out. This facility is absolutely beautiful, and we have, we carry Matthews, Hoyt, Elite, Bowtech, Bear, you name it, we've got it, and I believe we have some of the best techs in the industry here at Texas Archery. So, if you're looking for a bow, looking for accessories, this is the place to be. All right, last scoring end. That means that once this is done, they are done. And if they make the top 16, the youth will be back tonight, and the adults will be back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., which they're already grumbling about. But we're trying to make sure that we can give everybody enough time through this to get it done, because last year we went from 8 a.m. and we went till about 10 at night, and we've actually added more divisions this year to pay out. If you missed last night, you missed Sawyer Sullivan breaking a national record with a 5.99. That is shooting. That is killing it. Congratulations to Sawyer. Also, he is, of course, leading the pack when it comes to compound with a 5.99. That's just crazy, crazy good shooting. So we'll see him tomorrow morning. We're going to see a lot of good archers. There's top 4 archers right now have some seriously good scores. So it'll be a great final here for the compound. Barebow never disappoints. Last year came down to a 1-arrow shoot off for the win, and it was really fun. Recurve, Trenton Cowles and Vanu came down to the end, and ended up Vanu squeaked out the win, and that was the first loss for Trenton Cowles of the season after he just beat Brady Ellison, the Olympian. So we have got some great shooters here. Also, on the recurve side, we have Casey Koffel, which was an Olympian a few years ago and is probably one of the favorites to make the team this year or next year. So we've got a lot of good shooters here. A lot of going to be a lot of fun. All right, so they are finishing up. I'm going to go ahead and close this live stream. Thank you, everybody, for joining. This afternoon, we'll go ahead and kick off a live feed. We'll see if we can find some youth to help us with that. And then tonight, you'll get to listen to Wendy Cook and myself, and we will get to do live broadcast of those shoot-offs. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and we will see you guys at the next target.
Do you lie awake at night? Are you afraid to turn out the lights?